everybody. Sound check, sound check. Deb and any ruler. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to see you, glad to see you. I'm going to give a minute or two to get settled here and wait for some other people to come in. And let's see. All right, all right. Okay, we got Deb, Annie, K-Dub, Alice there. Ah, hello to all of you. Hello, K-Dub and Alice there. Hey, Kelly Mac. I think it's Thursday, Kelly. I'm not sure now. Don't hold me to it. I don't see my love button where you can send love. Maybe it'll pop up here. All right, it's 8:47. Hey, one maiden nut. All right, all right. Let me start showing some love in the chat in this button then. Since I can't send love on the side, what's up with that? All right. Deb gets the first heart. She was first. Annie Ruler gets the second for being second. And then who we got? K-Dub and Alice there. Glad to see everybody. All right. We got love from Scotland, y'all. Isn't that something? Much love to Kelly Mac and one maiden nut. How's y'all week so far? Everybody having a good week? Or you just ready for the weekend, like for real? ready for it for real. All right, all right. All right. Much love to Terry Butler. Hey, Terry. "1:48 a.m. in Scotland." Wow. Are you going to be able to stay awake, Alice? Well, I'm so glad you made the sacrifice of time. That's rough, 1:48 a.m. It's 8:49 p.m. where I am. Well, y'all probably know that from what time the live starts. That's a big difference, Alice there. Shout out to Scotland. Woo! Shout out to Scotland and Australia. Might as well go ahead and give them a shout out. All right, welcome Ralph Yoder. Good to see you, Ralph. All right, we're going to get started here. I think we'll probably get a few more people. So I'm going to give it 2 minutes. And then let me just start with my screen. All right, all right. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday night. That's right. That's right. Oh, Leslie Vasquez in the house. Shout out to Leslie. All right. And I want to give a great big shout out to AF for upgrading to selective detective. All right. So now we have AF, Star Sorcerer, and Katarina Rado. That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, we're still getting a few people coming in. I see you, Leslie. I see it. Yep. All right. I adore you, my muse. Oh, now I like that. Howdy, Kurgis. So good to see you. So good to see you. All right, we're going to get started. And I want to say that I was just exploring an angle when I was saying that when I did the Snuff Explains a Lot of Stuff series, I was exploring an angle for two main reasons, well, three main reasons. All right, hey, Satiris Paribas. Good to see you, good to see you. Happy Thursday. Good to see you. Now, I'm not going to say I was messing around because I have a good reason to pursue. All right? Well, all right, we got Audrey Cates in the house. What? Got some moderator. What? All right. Hey, Audrey Cates. Now, we're going to get the show on the road. Now, as I was saying, when I first started the series, I was investigating for several reasons. I just had to get my notes. And the first reason was that somebody posted that there was a camera set up in the woods. So I just don't see why so many people were turned off by the fact that I was talking about snuff films. Okay, I'm running a list of all the reasons why there probably was one. And somebody said something very interesting in the members only live. And I'm going to bring that up in a minute. The first reason that I believe a snuff film was one of the motives for the Idaho 4 is because a University of Idaho employee, student, one or both of the other, they posted on the student texting, platform. They posted that there was a camera set up in the woods for some project, and that it caught some girl running out of the house at 2 a.m. and that there was a black truck in the driveway. Somebody posted that early on. And I don't know if they scrubbed it by now or not, but it's in one of my videos. It's probably in snuff film number 1. Hey, B River girl. I see you. Much love. Y'all, my little heart thing where I can give love on the side is not there. That's just not right. But I guess I just have to give some extra hearts, you know, just typing, because that's not right. I gotta give love. All right. And so that's a very good reason. And the guy, he didn't post anonymously. He posted as himself. All right? He posted as himself. And he said there were two people in the there was a girl running at around 2 a.m. And so now we know that Maddie and Kaylee were at the grub truck at 2 a.m. So the only girls that could have been running were either Xana or Bethany or Dylan. Annie Ruler, snuff film made sense to me when Sneed showed pic of white mask guy wearing sunglasses. Same glasses the kid in middle with only one glove on Banfield. Okay, now how does that directly relate to the snuff film, Annie? I'm gonna give you a shout out. I'm trying to understand all of your posts. Okay? I love how we all shout each other out. That's right. Yeah, you gotta give the love. You gotta do that. You know, these lives get long. And so we gotta hang in there together. Right? Okay. A lot of people were saying that all right, welcome C Star. Happy Thursday, C Star. Welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. As soon as my heart button recovers, then I'll be using it. My love button. But I just don't know why it's gone. My browser looks weird. The color. Okay, so snuff film not showing faces. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay, I got you. Yeah. Now I'm gonna tell you something. In my research that I've been doing this week on snuff films, a lot of people out there are selling snuff films, and then the people in the film are not dead for real. And then the people find out later on, and I'm just saying, you know, some of these snuff films are fake. Some of them are fake. You're right, C-Star. It's not adding up, is it? It's not adding up, and it's never going to add up. It's never going to add up. Audrey Cakes, I heard the bad guy was wearing night vision goggles, and it looks like he was wearing sunglasses or something. All right? Listen. There is something just wrong here. Even the size of the house seems like it would fit. That's why they would choose it. You know? But some of those films are fake. I did find articles and cases where the people were busted for making the snuff films, and then the people that's supposed to be dead turned up alive and well somewhere later on, and the people that spent their money find out, and you know, so a lot of people, yep, Leslie, a lot of people thought it was urban legend, but you know what? They do it. They've been doing it. It's not new. It's not new. And still hanging around here right about the frat is defo involved. Alice, okay, let's start out with Ralph. I thought Snuff Dartwell was in this from the get-go, even before learning about the tripod. Wow. Shout out to Ralph. You know, it crossed my mind. It crossed my mind, but the evidence had to start stacking up for me to really pursue it. But you're right, Ralph. When I saw the size of the house, and I was like, these scary movies are always in a big house with stairs. You know, I had another little picture I wanted to put up. I put it under this one. You know, when we think of scary movies, there's always more than one level to the house. Somebody's always going up some stairs or hiding in behind some stairs, or somebody getting pushed down the stairs. I mean, it's not a real horror movie unless it's some stairs. And this house has plenty of stairs. All right, Alice there, and still hanging around. You're right about the first is defo and the frat is defo involved. Shout out to Alice there, because look how close those frat houses are to where, you know, they can plan and plot, and you know it make it easy. And they got a dog at the frat house. I even had his name in one of the videos. They have a dog. So I mean, then let's just stop with the snuff film being a fantasy, because the second thing that, and you can make a list along with me if you want to, and so we can keep notes on why we're even talking about this. Now I'm going to tell you number 2. Number 1 was the post by the University of Idaho student or student employee, and somebody responded back to him and said, call the police, turn it in to the police. And then that person responded back and said, okay, it's in the custody of the state now. They said the camera footage from the woods was in state custody. This was a public post. All right? I'm not making this up. And so it's not so far-fetched. The second thing that made me think snuff film is the Wi-Fi went down around campus. Around what? 11 or 12 o'clock? It was like it could be that so many people are online trying to see a Twitch film or see if the people bragging about making the film were actually going to do it. You know, I can think of 10 or 15 different reasons why a lot of people would be online trying to see if it's true, or trying to tune in because maybe they could record some of it and sell it. You know, data is money. You know, if you could just post on TikTok that you caught a little piece or something like that, I mean, you have 1 million views. It is out there, Leslie. Shout out to Leslie. It's, you know, it is out there, and it's not. And then I'm going to tell you the third reason. I believe that this is a good theory, and that it doesn't have to necessarily be the primary motive, but then again, it could be the primary motive. It could very well be. You know? But the Wi-Fi crashing means a lot of people were on their phones and on their tablets and on their laptops for some reason. I mean, the whole thing crashed for what, like till 11, from 11 to 12 midnight. You couldn't use the Wi-Fi. I think if you have your own, you could use your own, but you couldn't use the Wi-Fi that was supplied by the school, I think. All right, that's number 2. And number 3, and this is something that's not really new, but in a way it is, the way I'm putting it. Number 3, I believe Maddie and Kaylee were posed. I believe Maddie and Kaylee were posed. That's number 3. I don't believe that both of those girls were attacked in that little bitty bed. And both of them, and that Kaylee fought back, got the worst of it, and just conveniently ended up on the bed with Maddie. I don't believe it. I believe Maddie and Kaylee were put in the same bed. Maddie might have already been there asleep, or maybe not. But I don't believe that was the final resting place for either one of them. I think their bodies were posed. And that supports the snuff film theory, along with sticking that knife sheath in there and starting this big mystery all over the world, on top of getting paid for the film. That makes the film even more valuable if they can't solve the case. It's just the truth, Audrey. And so I think that the snuff film is a real good thing. And unfortunately, in my last video, I said something that I knew was going to give me a little blowback. It wasn't too bad. But number four is that if the frats were involved, then that means Ethan was sacrificed. That's number four. And that, I mean, people don't want to hear it. But if a fraternity staged a snuff film along with possibly sorority members and one of their own was killed, they sacrificed him because everybody knew that Ethan was in that house. Everybody knew. Ralph Yoder, I thought Snuff Dark Web was in this from the get-go, even before learning. Alice there hanging around. The frat is definitely involved. Kelly Mack, a lot of horror movies are set around fraternity dudes, even without receipts, which there allegedly are, and these types of things are done in plain sight, so to speak. Snuff film theory makes sense in my opinion. All right, shout out to Kelly Mack. Thank you, Kelly. I've done some research, and I'm gonna post some of it tonight because it's just a fact that these things happen. I'm gonna share my first article. All right, this is from the Los Angeles Times. Because these guys are hyper masculine. And I'm going to tell you something else. It only takes one person in the frat to want to be involved in some stuff like that. They don't all have to be involved. It can be anybody. It can be one person. I'm going to give you some more information. I don't want to give it all so fast, and then we'll run out of topics. But I'm going to let you know what I've been finding. And it just screams snuff film. And it screams that maybe Bethany got the heck out of there. She was the only one running, right? The people only saw one girl running. We know what Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee were. They couldn't have been the one running because they were still in the house deceased. So if they saw one girl running, they had to be Dylan or Bethany. And Bethany's got my vote. Because Dylan has given a statement that she was still in the house and that the killer left before she even went back to sleep. By the time she went back to sleep, the killer was gone. This is by her own admission or whatever statement, whoever wrote that up. Are you with me? The Post said that one girl was seen running at 2 a.m. from the house. And so that means it's only 5 girls involved. And 3 of them deceased. One of them said her bedroom is right there in the middle of the action, and she said she was in her bed asleep. The only person we really haven't heard from is Bethany. So Bethany had to be the one running at 2 o'clock or around 2 o'clock. It could have been 2:15, 2:20. But Bethany had to be the one running. I'm just saying. It's just being, deducing things by process of elimination. Somebody posted they saw a girl running from that house at about 2 in the morning. Now then we got problems with that. Because if things were jumping up at 2 a.m., who was using Maddie and Kaylee's phones? That's my question. What if Jack would have answered? Who would have been on the phone? Who would have been on the phone? God only knows. But I believe it was Bethany that was running. It's Bethany being subpoenaed. It's Bethany that's not in the PCA. Make her, her words, whatever she told police, it's not in the statement. Okay, she's not in the PCA. If the girl was running, it had to be her. She's the only one we really don't know where she was or what she was doing. And she's the only one that was subpoenaed. They could have subpoenaed Dylan. Just because Dylan gave a statement, they could have subpoenaed Dylan. Only person that got subpoenaed was Bethany. Only person whose statement is not in the PCA is Bethany. The only girl that could have been running at 2 o'clock in the morning was Bethany. All right? Annie Ruler, check out Banfield. Holder London has recent close-ups, dark sunglasses, and keeps looking up King. Night glasses, yeah, maybe too dark, and he is looking up King. I think I know what you're talking about, Annie. Let me give you your shout out. I think I know what you're talking about. I believe I know. I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it. It's about time we step up and let MSM, they know they don't own the narrative anymore. Shout out to C-Star. You know, it's not about, being disrespectful to the prosecution or law enforcement or whatever. It's just a search for the truth. Okay? It's just a search for the truth. And if law enforcement hadn't given us a suspect, we would still be the same way. I know most influencers that I know, even if we didn't have Brian as a suspect and we didn't know who it was, we would be just as vigilant trying to figure out who did this. At least I would. At least I would. Always a 2-story house with a basement. Oh, another shout out, Leslie. You're right. Always a basement. And it's always something down there that shouldn't be. Somebody said they keep talking about tunnels in this house. If there's tunnels under this house, I mean, we can add that to our list of reasons for the snuff film. If there are tunnels under this house that are accessible from inside the house, then that means that's another reason for a snuff film. We're not trying to disrespect the networks. They do enough of that. They disrespect themselves. We don't have to disrespect them. But, I mean, it's a free country, and we're supposed to be able to talk about stuff. And if we can't have our own opinion of this case as YouTubers and people on YouTube, viewers and influencers, then I conclude that I would not be able to have my own opinion as a juror. If I can't have my own open opinion just out here on a channel talking about it, I know doggone well I'm not going to be able to be a juror and say how I really feel. That's just common sense. As far as a fair trial, and they're having it right there in Latah County, if I'm not allowed to say how I feel or how I see things or that I suspect something about a case online, it doesn't make sense for me to sit up here and expect a fair trial for the person being tried. Okay, we got our first super chat sticker from LA. All right, keep bringing the truth. Heart, 100. Much love, LA. I can't even send the hearts right now, but I can give you one. I can give you a big hug like that. Thank you so much. Shout out to LA for the super chat, $5, $4.99. And I'm going to find you a hug because I can't do the thing on the side. All right? Much appreciated. Much appreciated. It's the end of the month. I know people are trying to pay their bills. But, I thank you for taking the sacrifice. All right? Where are we? We are at... Oh, those not my hearts, though. Somebody else sent them. Where is my heart thing? I don't know. I guess. All right. So were the pictures of the guys with the ski mask from the Ring camera? Leslie, I don't know if we can trust the Ring camera. I mean, can we trust the Ring camera? The people that own it, that live right next to them, at first they said they had footage of audio of a dog and whimpering and all this stuff, but then a bunch of fakes came out and they were saying, you know, they were posting online, this audio is a fake, this audio. So I don't know what's a fake and what's not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I can even trust a Ring.com audio or something that somebody in the neighborhood said they had on their house. I don't even know. I don't even know if I could trust that. Bet Opie has his own personal copy. You know it. And then off the subject for a minute, don't you find it strange how quiet Opie is? I have not seen this man speak on TV about this case really at all. And he's supposed to be the lead detective. It's like him and Brian Kohlberger are scared to say one cotton picking word. They don't want to step out wrong. Opie is nowhere in making statements. Chief Fry has made all the statements. He won't even let Opie speak into the public because he know we'll tear him up every word. It's like throwing him to the wolves if he lets Opie speak on camera on the news. Imagine that, boy. That paragraph would be so hot. It'll take about 5 minutes for it to get twisted around and retweeted and retwisted and retweeted. By the end of the day, no telling what it'll be. All right, Leslie, you got me all off topic talking about Opie. Now let's see. C-Star. Who were the people wearing the ski mask? The girl in pink was supposedly DM. They said it was Quinn and DM. Remember? And then Quinn is saying it's not him. But on TikTok, they showed a lot of side-by-sides and stuff to where it does look like it is Quinn. He tried to distance himself from both of that picture. Quinn is distancing himself from everything that has to do with this case. But as far as I know, the ski mask picture is Dylan and Quinn. All right? I think I seen Dylan in a ski mask more than one time. I mean, in 2 different occasions. I seen Dylan in a ski mask. All right, let's start our first article. Did I put the title up there? Because I have read that 75% of violence and stuff towards women is more likely a guy that's in the fraternity. And that's crazy. All right, here's the title of the article. I don't know if I can share a browser. I'll see. Let's see. But you can see this part. All right. It's a long title. This is the LA Times. And the title is Column, Fraternities Are Incubators of Sexual Assault and Other Violence. Why is USC defending them? Okay, that's not the one I wanted. I want the British one. All right. Yeah, The Guardian. This is something I wasn't going to share, but I already shared some of it in my members only. And I'm going to just go with it because it goes with the discussion. All right. See if the browser will let me do it. Get it right. All right, you should be able to see it in a minute. This article is ridiculous. I mean, it's unbelievable. Now, wait a minute. I did donate. Okay, I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. All right. I don't know why it's blacked out over here. Maybe it'll come in. Okay. It says Britain is a key link in the biggest ever international investigation into the production and supply of pedophile snuff movies in which children are murdered on film. An observer investigation can reveal. Put that on the screen. So you can see. All right, the key suspect in the inquiry, a Russian who was arrested last week in Moscow. By the way, this was posted first in 2000 and then it was updated 2019. I don't know. That's weird. Okay, I'll just keep reading from here. All right, the key suspect in the inquiry, a Russian who was arrested last week in Moscow for a distribution of thousands of sadistic child porn. Now, this is bad. This is really bad. So clutch your pearls. Dmitry Vladimirovich Kuznetsov. I'm going to put his last name in the chat. Kuznetsov. And Alistair, you might have heard of this guy over there in Moscow. Because I think he's been selling over in your neck of the woods too. But here's his name. All right. A 30-year-old former car mechanic in Moscow was identified after British Customs and police traced the origin of violent child porn videos found in the UK back to Russia. So you see, the first ones they were found were in the UK. Last week, Italian police seized 3,000 of Kuznetsov's videos on their way to clients in Italy, sparking an international hunt for pedophiles who have bought his products. The Italian investigators say the material includes footage of children dying during abuse. Prosecutors in Naples are considering charging those who have bought the videos with complicity in murder. They say some may have specifically requested films of killings. All right, around a dozen British men have already been arrested and charged with offenses alleged to be connected to the Russian tapes. A second Russian child porn ring, which allegedly had a British distributor, was broken up earlier this year. The investigation into the importing of violent child porn, which led to the identification and subsequent imprisonment of Kuznetsov, started about 15 months ago after customs seized material coming into the country. Since then, there have been dozens of other fines. We have some very, very nasty stuff involving sadistic abuse of very young children, but actual deaths on film takes it a whole step further. This is very worrying, said one senior customs officer this weekend. All right, so you see that the snuff films is not a joke. And this is all in the new millennium. Kill the Clones was the day before. There are movie makers there. Andy Ruler, you get a brain. That's very related to what we're talking about. Thank you. I'll put a pin in that. All right? Because people are influenced by stuff like that. Now, he said British pedophiles were paying between 50 and 100 pounds for Kuznetsov's tapes, the officer said. Further fees were paid for access to a website that features pictures of extremely violent abuse. Though two men arrested with Kuznetsov have also been imprisoned by Moscow authorities, only one of the three remains behind bars. Dmitry was sentenced to 11 years for actually participating in the abuse that was being filmed. So he was in the movies. Not only were they selling them, he's in the movie. The others were released under an amnesty aimed at clearing Russia's overcrowded prisons. Isn't that something? So we let the snuff filmmakers out of the overcrowded prison. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right. When officers from the Moscow Criminal Investigation Department raided Kuznetsov's flat, they found two boys in a makeshift studio. They seized a huge quantity of films and other pornographic material, as well as lists of clients in Italy, Germany, America, and Britain. All right, so you see, you guys, that's 4 countries that they were sending this stuff to. So you know if it's in America, it's in Canada and Mexico. Just off the rip. If it's in America, it's in Canada. All right? If it's in Germany and Britain, it's in France. It's probably in Scotland and Ireland too. You know? If it's in Italy, it's probably in Greece. I'm just saying, this is how it goes. These are the 4 main countries that they caught the stuff coming through. But that's not to say that's it. Now listen to this. Last week, Italian detectives moved in following months of inquiries and arrested 8 people. The police searched more than 600 homes and say they now have evidence against about 500 people. 500 people. Yeah. C-Star. How they all wear suspicious things, masks, and posing with middle fingers to the camera and a knife, but BK is the weirdo. Oh, Annie, here's your shout out, Annie, and shout out to C-Star because Dylan has so many suspect photos. It ain't funny, but we're not allowed to call her a suspect. No, no. Leslie, I think it's Dylan and her boyfriend. Well, I think they're in on it. And this Quinn was not in school, was he? Quinn is not a student anywhere, is he? I think he just was. They were saying he was selling narcotics. I don't know whether he sells narcotics or not, so I'm not gonna say that he does. I'm just saying that's what I heard. But it's not fact. I have never seen him deal a drug. I don't know him. But I'm just saying this is the rumor about Quinn, and I was wondering, is he a student? Maybe in his hometown or whatever. Not necessarily in Idaho, but in another town or city. Okay? Now, let's see, where was I? Now, pose to humiliate, yes. Shout out to Deb. I agree. And also probably to suggest that they were lesbians. You know, there's your sexual motivation. There's your sexual motivation. You know, 2 girls in that little bitty bed, a lot of people accuse them of being lesbians just from seeing how many pictures of them so close together and kissing and stuff like that. A lot of people associate that with lesbianism. Okay, a lot of people associated that before they heard anything about a sheath or how they were laying in the bed. A lot of people accused Maddie and Kaylee of being lesbians. You know, maybe somebody didn't like that. You know, that's what a sheath was. They say Maddie and Kaylee, whether it was planted or somebody left it, that's where it ended up in their room. So that's where the message is, I guess. The calling card was with Maddie and Kaylee. That doesn't mean they were the only ones targeted. I'm just saying maybe that's just a little extra. You know, that's what they say in the film. That's the extra. All right, let's see. They searched 600 homes, and 500 people had evidence of these snuff films, and not all of them were snuff films, but a lot of them were. And all of them had children being abused to almost to the point of death. Why you say that, Dale? Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. School service done down 9 a.m. when 6 a.m. or so. I don't know, Annie. I thought it was 11 to 12 p.m. Around it, between 11 and 12, the internet, the Wi-Fi went out. Right? Now, somebody had confidence in that, you know? Evidently, it slowed the university down and being able to track somebody. I don't know how. I don't know whose logic that is, because you can still track somebody. But let me work my way down here. 600 homes were searched. 500 people were arrested. Among the suspects, listen to this. Here's the mind blower. I'm going to put it up on the screen in case this article is not doing right. I'm going to put this part on the screen, and I'm going to see who catches what I'm saying. I'm going to read this paragraph, and then I'm going to put it up there on the screen, and I'm going to see who can point out the mind blower. It's just a small paragraph, but I'm going to see. All right? I'm going to read it first. Last week, Italian detectives moved in following months of inquiries and arrested 8 people. The police searched more than 600 homes and say they now have evidence against about 500 people. Among the suspects were businessmen, public employees, and a university student. Several of them were married with children of their own. Hundreds of people are also under investigation in Germany. All right, now, what's the mind blower here? Let me look in the chat. I'm giving out brains for whoever can tell me what the mind blower is here. Because they're searching for snuff films and pedophile, paraphernalia. That's what they're searching for. Now, let me scroll down here. I hate to skip. Let me see who knows what the mind blower is. All right, can you see it on the screen yet? Let me go in this live right here. Let me look on here and see what y'all can see. Yeah, you can see it. Kelly Mack got it. Kelly Mack got it. Anybody else? I hope you answered my question. I hope I didn't just spoil it. I think it's too much of a coincidence. I'm going to give you the brain. I think that's too much of a coincidence. I think you got it. All right, let me see. Here's your brain, Kelly. Now, this gave me the creeps. They said among the suspects were businessmen, public employees, and 1 university student. One university student. Leslie, I doubt I'll sleep tonight or ever. The university student, Deb gets a brain. 1 university student, that gave me the creeps. Not some, just 1. That gave me the absolute creeps. Because I know one person couldn't have carried out this crime, less more, make a snuff film of it, unless he was in there a long time by himself with a camera. But when it said 1 university student, I was like, wow, I thought about Brian. I was like, out of 500 or 600 people, 500 had evidence, and only one out of the 500 was a university student. That gave me the creeps. For real. Because that lets you know that somebody, let's say the university student was 21, 22 years old. 21. Let's say he was 21 and he's interested in that type of material. So that lets you know that somebody of that age in your area is interested in that type of material. If one person, if a university student got caught up in a dragnet like that, with hard child pornography and snuff films, for them to get caught up like that, listen, they caught a Catholic priest with a snuff film in Idaho. In Idaho. All right, let me finish this because I'm going to show it to you. All right, they seized a huge quantity of films and other pornographic material, as well as a list of clients. All right, the Russian videos, which had been, they're not Russian videos, they're snuff videos. They're pornographic videos. Just because a Russian made it doesn't mean it's a Russian video. That means it's a pornographic, it's garbage, it's trash, it's filth. And filth doesn't have a nationality. It's universal. Which had been ordered over the internet, were intercepted when they came into Italy by post. So they sending this in the mail. They ordered it online and they sent it in the mail. All right, we got Amy D in the house. What's up, Amy? Shout out to Amy D. I'm telling you, we have to accept that this was nothing but a big fun house, a big idea for somebody to do something gruesome. And it could be for several reasons. All right, 300 to 4,000 pounds is what they were paying for this stuff. And then this I posted in my members, in my members only live. I'm gonna post it again so you can see it. Now now we know university age students are into that type of stuff. It's not just some weirdo that got out of prison after 15 years. It's all kinds that's interested in it. It's all kinds. And they have these fetishes and different things that they can't talk to their wives or husbands about. And so they have to go underground, you know, to get by with it, because the average person is not doing that. The average person does not want to see a child being abused in any fashion. The average normal person is protective of a child by nature. If you see a child in trouble, you run and you help them, don't you? So that's not normal. These people have dysfunction, and they probably don't know how to cope with them themselves. Okay? It's not normal to want to sit up there and have sexual relations with a dead body, or to watch a film where you know somebody is getting choked to death for real. That's not normal, and they know it's not normal, and they know society don't really want to hear that about how you got a problem, and this is what it is. So they have to be underground. They can't get help, because if they tell a psychiatrist what's really on their mind, he's going to call the police. So, I mean, we stuck with them. Now listen, I'm going to give you one more screenshot from this article, and it's the last paragraph. And so I'm going to read it again for you guys, because if you're a member, you've already seen this. Let me find the one with the questions at the end. Yeah. If you're a member, you've already seen it. If you're a member and you came to the members only meeting, you've already seen it. Let me rephrase that. This is the last part of this article, and then we're going to go to the next thing. All right. Now we can see here. This is the last part of the article, and it says many customers repeatedly ordered videos from him more than once. The Naples newspaper I1 Matino published a transcript of an alleged email exchange between a prospective client and the Russian vendors. Promise me you're not going to rip me off, says the Italian. Relax, I can assure you this one really dies, the Russian responded. The last time I paid, I didn't get what I wanted. And so the Russian said, what do you want? And the Italian said, to see them die. Now, imagine somebody having this conversation. This is supposed to be real life. Imagine somebody just flat out saying this here. I mean, can you stomach that? Honestly. Can you stomach that? Shout out to Jean Arabic. Hello and welcome, Jean or Jen. I think maybe it's Jen. And welcome, Missy Q. Welcome to our Thursday Night Live. Welcome. Leslie Vasquez, it's always the ones who seem normal. Shout out to Leslie. All right, I'll take that one. Now, what I'm saying is, who in their right mind would go this far or let their minds go this far? Because even if your mind is telling you you want to see a snuff film, you know to back off of that in your mind. That's why the Bible says casting down imaginations. These imaginations are going to continuously come. They're never going to stop. So some of them need to be cast down. And if you want to see somebody kill somebody else, that imagination in your mind needs to be cast down. And what I mean by cast down is just choosing to think of something else. And just get it out of your mind. Refuse to go down the rabbit hole and entertain, what comes next in that thought process. Just cast it down. That goes for anything, not just snuff films and child porn. That's for anything that at the end of the rabbit hole, it's not going to be anything good for you. Casting down is going to have to be in full force in these next upcoming years. Because look at the economy. Look at the wars. Look at how we treat each other. Look at politics. A mess. Everything a mess. And so, we're going to have casting down. That's a skill that we're going to have mastered and put in full force. Because if we entertain everything that comes across our desk these days, after a while, we'll have the same problem. We'll be thinking about stuff we have no business thinking about. And then after you think about it long enough, it becomes less fantasy and more something you're planning to do. So casting down imaginations is a skill we need to sharpen. Make sure it's in our crayon box or our toolbox, because the way the world is now and the way it's heading, we're going to have to be able to snatch some filth out of our mind as soon as it arrives, throw it in the trash, and keep rolling. We got to have that down pat, because it's going to be coming from all different sides, right? Now, this next article, I might have to take some of this stuff off the screen. But it should be. All right, this is from, they have him listed in bishopaccountability.org, where they catch these bishops doing stuff. But here's the one that I wanted. And I'm going to try to share a browser right quick. And I'm going to close this one. All right, just one moment. All right, all right. Let me change this up. We're talking about the possibility of a snuff film at 1122 King Road, and possibly the fraternities being involved, or one fraternity. And then the flip side of what I said can also be true. Like I said, if Sigma Chi or Sigma Chi was a fraternity that was behind the snuff film, that means that Ethan was sacrificed. Now, it could also be the flip side of that. Because Ethan was one of the victims, if it was a frat, it probably wasn't Sigma Chi. We could say that also, right? We could say on the one hand, if it was a frat, that if it was Sigma Chi, well, they sacrificed their own member. But we could also flip that and say Ethan was also killed. So it probably wasn't Sigma Chi. It probably was maybe the Delta one, because they have a lot of trouble. That's what I'm saying. It could go both ways. I just wanted to point that out. It could go both ways as far as Ethan being there and being in that situation. You know, when he didn't live there. He didn't live there. Okay, here's the second one. I'll give it a minute to load up. All right, it says, I want to take responsibility. Retired Boise priest pleads guilty in child porn case. Now, this man was caught with a snuff film, and he's a Catholic priest, a father. He retired from being a father. He was never fired or punished for the stuff.
This afternoon to bring you the horrific
for the stuff that he
case against retired Boise priest Father Thomas Fauché. KTVB's Katie Terhune was there in the courtroom today and brings us the details.
I don't know if you can.
Father Fauché pleaded guilty to 5 felonies today as part of a plea deal with prosecutors. But the 72-year-old told a judge that he doesn't remember committing some of his crimes. Fauché said today he was in the throes of alcohol-induced depression and dementia when he sent someone an email containing pictures of an underage boy and girl being sexually abused by adult men. The defendant said that although he has no memory of sending that email, he knows no one else had access to his computer, and he wants to take responsibility. In all, Fauché pleaded guilty to 2 counts of distributing child pornography, 2 counts of possession of child pornography, and possession of LSD. Prosecutors previously said they found more than 2,000 images and videos on the retired priest's computer, including depictions of children being tortured and the sexual abuse of infants and toddlers. Fauché said today that another person sent him the explicit images and that he had only opened and looked at a few of them before attempting to delete them off his computer. But prosecutors argued that Fauché's behavior was part of an ongoing pattern, not a...
Okay, I'll pick up from here. I wanted to point out a few things here about this guy. It's just really unbelievable.
Drunken mistake. Prosecutors are asking for a 30-year prison sentence with 20 years before...
Let's see.
Fauché can seek parole. That sentencing has been set for December 20th.
Now, this guy, he had a lot of pornography in his possession when they searched his house, but at the same time, he had a snuff film. He had at least one where somebody actually died in the film.
Now more is less with Cox Internet and Cox Mobile. From fiber-powered internet at home to more unbeatable 5G reliability on the go. Get gig speeds for only $65 a month when you add
Hold on, let me
Cox Mobile.
shut this off.
Click to save.
and put his picture up. At least you can see that.
This weekend is Labor Day, as we've been talking about, and it's the end of what law enforcement calls the 100 deadliest days. Over the holiday weekend, police officers around the state are ramping up efforts.
All right. And so he never got charged. He never really went through anything. He never went through anything as far as punishment. He never did. And so this guy's in Boise, Idaho. Here's his face. This guy's in Boise, Idaho. So you can't tell me they're not doing it over there. You can't tell me. He's in Boise, Idaho. He retired, and he confessed to a lot of stuff. He confessed to, and he said it's what he wants to do. He's not repentant. It's mind blowing. Let's see. Father W. Thomas Foucher argued that his graphic online chats about wanting to rape and kill children were essentially role play. Let me give you a better shot. This is who I'm talking about. This is just wrong, creepy. Okay, while that's loading up, the retired priest faced more than 20 child pornography charges mused online about the journey that he has taken down the path to Satan and his desire to hurt others before the end of his life, according to prosecutors. Yes, I want to do something truly evil before I die. Prosecutor Cassandra Slavin recited in court Friday, the thought of killing someone does begin to excite me. This is what he told him. This is what he told him. Can you believe that? Can you believe it? Look at his eyes. Hold on. Look at this guy's eyes. And look how long he went doing this stuff until they finally brought him up for charges, because there had to be complaints galore. There had to be complaints galore. And he didn't go down until after he was retired. Now, he said, hold on. He said he was on online chat logs obtained by police after they raided his home. They found more than 2,000 child pornography images and videos on his computer and cell phone, including files depicting the extremely brutal rape and torture of children as young as infants and toddlers, according to the prosecutor. Did you hear what I said? Rape and torture of infants and toddlers. Now, it gets worse, if that's possible. This case is what it is. It's a serious case. A significant bond is certainly warranted, but not $1 million. That's ridiculous. The defense was arguing that he got $1 million bond. But the prosecutor urged the judge to weigh his own words in the chat logs, where he said he wanted to do something truly evil before he dies. He said that. So $1 million bond is not enough. He talks about wanting to rape teenage boys. Those are his words. He talks about being turned on by a baby's scream. Those are his words. He encourages the person with which he is chatting to rape and kill a boy. He talks about his own desire to rape and kill children. In another chat conversation, Foucher discusses whether he should poison a neighbor's child's dog, writing that no one would suspect the old, wonderful priest neighbor. Now you remember the dog, what was his name, Buddy? The dog named Buddy got skinned. In my opinion, the picture taken in the corner club on that night with even the chief of police was in it. And he claimed he was out of town. Shout out to Alice there. Remember, he said he was out of town with his wife. That's what it said in Bloom's article. Howard Bloom's article says that Chief Fry was out of town with his wife. He came back to Moscow, went home and put on his uniform, and then showed up to the scene. That's what Howard Bloom said. Now, I'll leave that to y'all to discuss. But this is just ridiculous. But it's hard to believe that somebody would say and do these things. But I'm tired of people saying that the snuff film is not real. Infants and toddlers, one made nut. You caught that, huh? Let me give you a shout out. Infants and toddlers. Now, to me, that's just demonic. It's no coming back from that kind of stuff. It's no coming back from that. It's no coming back from even saying that you want to rape or torture an infant or a toddler. It's no coming back from that. I don't care who it is. And so these are the type of people that Brian Koberger is going to be locked up with. And so it give me the heebie-jeebies too, K-Dub. Let me give you a shout out. He looks every bit the part of the stuff that he's been saying. He looks every bit the part. All right, and then he said the violent files recovered from Faucher's devices were among the most horrific Idaho's internet crimes against children task force had ever encountered. I'm going to say that again. The violent files recovered from Faucher's devices were among the most horrific Idaho's internet crimes against children task force had ever encountered, Slavin said. In addition to the pictures and videos showing children being tortured and abused, investigators also found files showing animals being hurt and killed and an actual snuff film, a recording of a real rape and murder of a woman. Now you notice he's got all this talk about wanting to rape and kill teenage boys, but the snuff film he had what in it? A female. A female. Terry Butler, Maddie's stepmom knew in advance but said nothing. Okay, shout out to Terry. How do we know that? How did Maddie's mom know in advance? What clues do we have? Terry, yes, it was her stepmother, I think. How? How? Yeah, you remember Buddy, Kelly Mack? Shout out to Kelly. When I read all of this, it was like, it just fits like a glove. Because he's the dog being tortured before the actual murder also support that this was some sadistic act and that it was just escalated from the torture of the dog. This was the escalation. To me, that's what it means. It doesn't matter who did it. Shout out to Leslie. Satan is waiting for them. They're already together, Leslie. Sound like they done already moved in together. Be honest with you. For somebody to say some of this stuff here is disturbing for me to read. It just grieves my spirit. For it seemed like they already lived together. And then let's see. Your Honor, the totality of that forensic evidence as a whole really does show he's interested in very dark and very evil things. But Manweller, let's see here. Manweller argued that the disturbing chat logs were essentially role play between his client and another man. You know, it was a policeman doing that. He was saying he wanted to kill people and stuff, and he was saying it was a hobby, you know, and whatnot. But in actuality, he was a policeman, and they fired him because they say he shouldn't be talking like that, even if it's fantasy. All right, and so I think we're coming to the end of this one, In terms of his character and reputation, Judge, prior to this case, it was beyond reproach. He had ministered to many, many thousands of people over his long career. Just the thought of him being a minister to anybody is so cringe. It's so disgusting. It's so unbelievable that somebody like this was in a pulpit. It just blows my mind. All right, let's see. And many of the files police recovered from his devices were in the retired priest's recycling bin, raising questions about whether Foucher ever opened them or looked at them before deleting. Now, see, that's the defense talking. We know he looked at it. That's why he had it to look at it. Right? We know he looked at it. And then, let's see. The attorney also pointed out that Foucher is not charged with actually molesting or abusing any children, although several people have come forward after Foucher's arrest accusing the priest of sexually molesting them in the 70s. The defense dismissed those accounts as opportunists coming out of the woodwork. All right. In my view, there are people jumping on the bandwagon that want the Catholic Church to write them a check, he said. They should not be given serious consideration by this court. And then he said, I am extremely concerned about all the other things he says he wants to do and whether or not he wants to follow through with those before he dies. And Manuela disagreed, telling the judge his frail, wheelchair-bound, 72-year-old client was not a risk to anyone. Who does that sound like? The Golden State Killer? Well, they caught him when he was old. They caught him when he was old and had to have oxygen, but they still locked him up. Well, that's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, so what do we have here? We have the fact that a snuff film is real. We have the fact that if anybody was running from the house that night, it was Bethany. All right? We got Bethany in the hot seat because Bethany was the only one they could have seen running at 2 o'clock. Because we were sitting there watching Maddie and Kaylee at 156 at the grub truck. And we know it wasn't Xana because if she had ran, she would still be alive. So we know if a female was running from the house at 2 a.m., it had to be Bethany. And so she wasn't there. Or she was there, she saw it jump off, and she got up out of there. I helped get 26.5 years for 26-year-old molester Annie Ruler. Shout out to Annie. Y'all know this stuff is out here. Don't try to act like, oh, society would never do that. You can't tell me what somebody won't do. Because these people are beyond sadistic. They're killing the animals and the people. They don't want anybody left alive. Okay, so what do we have to move on with? We got one university student in Italy that was receiving snuff film material, child pornography, violent pornography, and snuff films. We had one university student in that group. So that lets you know that age group, they're down with it too. Okay, these college students are doing it. You can look at their clothes and their hair, the things they do to their skin and stuff. I mean, you can tell that some of them are just really far removed from just office setting or school setting type environment. They might be in college. That might be where their parents want them to be. But, everybody is not cut out for that type of environment. I'm just saying. And this is a state school. So you're going to have people doing all kinds of stuff. They don't care if financial aid might be paying for it. The parents don't have to be rich. They could just be independent students. Half homeless in college. That happens all the time. Now I want to know about Maddie's stepmom. I I just don't know. Dale, is it wrong that makes me feel better to know he will be punished for eternity? All right. Well, Kenyan Taco, welcome. Welcome. We got Alaska in the house. Welcome. All right. We got Scotland and Alaska. We need somebody south of the border. South Africa, where you at? Brazil, where you at? Australia, where you at? We got the North is taking over. All right, now we have the university student that's right smack dab in the middle of that. We have Bethany that's a problem so many ways because she's the only one that could have ran. We don't have her statement in the PCA. All we have is that she gave a statement. She's the only one that was subpoenaed because Ann Taylor could have subpoenaed both of them in one move. Okay, she didn't mean to subpoena Dylan. Why? Okay, what was Bethany was running? Did the man with the camera have his time off, or was it actually 2 o'clock? Because we need to know. And whose black truck? Was it a black truck SUV or was it a black truck pickup? Because we have both. We have Enan Harsh saying he saw a black SUV, and then we have the black pickup that we saw with our own 2 eyes leaving at 3 o'clock from that direction. It came across Taylor Avenue on the body cam. So some of what this man posted is true. He said he saw the black truck in the driveway, and we saw a black truck pass by on Taylor Avenue, I believe at about 3. I mean, it just something about 3 o'clock, man. So much happened at 3 o'clock. And then at the end of it, at about 3:12, we see 4 guys running away from the direction of the house. And I think that somebody meant for them to get caught on body cam. That's why they called the police in the first place. Or the police called in the alibi himself. You know, nobody called the police, but he called the alibi himself. And just lo and behold, his body cam is taking in everything that's going on at that house. I don't think that was a coincidence. There's big money in all forms of snuff films. It sure is, Wakenya. Big money is right. Those articles are dated. And even back then, they were paying $4,000 or 4,000 pounds for, this illicit material. They've been doing it. It's just getting more and more expensive because I don't know why it's easier to pass it around with the internet. With so much going on now, it's easy to pass it around. All right, and so I believe that the snuff film was either the motive or part of the motive. And I believe that Brian Kohlberger, let me find a picture of him for our chat. I believe Brian Kohlberger could have got himself mixed up into it because he heard, maybe he was aware of what was going to go down just like everybody else. And instead of staying home, he turned his phone off and went to Moscow to check it out anyway. It's possible. It's possible that he's the one that told the police that it was going to happen. And the police showed up to the band field with a body cam aimed at the house. How did the police showed up there, but he called it in as something he reported. Nothing somebody else. The police are always showing up over there with nobody called. That's how deep it is. It's somebody in that it's police in that neighborhood. If they're not knocking on the door and nobody called them, they're in the field. Nobody called them. Nobody even called the police that night. When the policeman was knocking on the back door in the daytime, when they went to the other house first, nobody called the police. So we have to be mindful of the facts. And the fact of the matter is, this could have been a snuff film. And it's not looking too good for Dylan if it was. because you have to set up, and it's some steps you have to take to, have a film like that. It doesn't just happen in 9 minutes. It doesn't even happen in 20 minutes. You have to plan a snuff film. And so I just want to make sure that we understand that snuff films do exist. And then now we'll move on to the frats. And the first person that we need to talk about, let me move Brian over. First person we need to talk about is Hunter Johnson. All right, let me make the adjustment here. It's some real monsters in the penitentiary. And so Brian Kohlberger, either he wants to be locked up or whatever. I don't know. I hope he understands the gravity of what it means to be locked up. I don't care what city it is. Crime and violence is universal. Kelly Mack, straight to gym pop and let the jailmates know what he was so bold as to say. Yep, shout out to Kelly. He put it out there that that's what he was about. And be honest with you, a lot of the people in jail, they're about the same thing. So he'll find a friend. I'm sure he found a friend. All right, one made nut. Insufficient evidence which would lose in court. So have the media convict him in advance, and then it gets dismissed. Then he's guilty forever, and the killers are walking free. Shout out to one made nut. That's the same strategy that they used for O.J. Simpson. Okay? If we don't find him guilty, we're not going to look for anybody else. We'll just let everybody else figure that he did it, and he got off, and there's nothing we can do about it. Okay? Because, be honest with you, I don't know whether he did it or not. I believe he would have had sent somebody over there, but I don't see him getting his hands dirty. I won't say that he's not behind it, but I'm also not going to say that he was at that house doing it himself. I just don't think that, he's too much of a narcissist to take that kind of risk. He would have definitely sent somebody else. All right, Andy Ruler. My Uber driver went to Moscow to see friends. They say the case stinks more than one. All right. Shout out to Andy for that info. Thank you for that. So the locals are even saying that this doesn't make sense, huh? Isn't that something? All right, Alice there. Nah, BK is just playing his part in this unaliving, in my opinion. Okay, what you mean by that? Alice there, do you believe Brian is just going along with the flow because that's all he can do? Or do you think he knew something? Do you think he was a participant, or do you think he knew something? I think if there were rumors going around, excuse me. I'm sorry to keep nodding, but I had a long day. Well, the one thing I would say is just because they don't have enough evidence, that doesn't mean that he didn't do it. That means they don't have enough evidence, which is their problem. Which means if they don't have enough to convict him, then evidently he is, and he did it, and evidently he is the mastermind that they're saying he is. If they can't convict him, they called him sloppy and picked on him and said, oh, he's supposed to be a PhD student. I mean, every ego got involved. Instead of just speaking the facts of the case or whatever, they took shots at his intelligence, which to me is stooping low, because you don't know how much sense somebody might have. When you underestimate people, you give them the benefit of getting over because you're not paying them enough attention. They could be doing anything. Ann Taylor is fighting hard for BK. Shout out to Amy D. Now, Ann Taylor works for the state, just like everybody else. And Ann Taylor's making $200 an hour. So if Ann Taylor goes another 8 or 9 months at that rate, she could buy her another vacation home. So it's to her benefit financially to waive the speedy trial. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that's why she did it. I'm just saying she has a motive to do it. She has a big $200 an hour motive, and not on top the $200 that's per hour. She has some type of stipend or something to where she can have expenses, and it doesn't come out of the $200 an hour. It comes out of the stipend. So she's doing real good. She's doing real good. Now I'm not saying she's not giving her all, Amy. Y'all don't go and say I'm flipping on Ann Taylor. I just feel like she should have went on and started in October. It would have been a mess, yeah. But while she's taking more time, she's giving the prosecution more time, and Brian could lose his mind at any minute. The longer he sits in there, and the more those guards, goad him, and other inmates tell the man, "You going to death row." They don't care whether he did it or not. You're the patsy. The more they keep putting stuff in his head, and he's locked up in there away from his family, and they still lying on him, telling lies, whether he did it or not. It's only so much the human mind can take. And so you don't want your client going through too much. Shout out to Juggy Jones. Welcome, Juggy. Good to see you. Welcome to Thursday Night Live. Juggy Jones, that house was wired with hidden cams, and they got snuffed. That film is worth a lot now. How famous this case is. That's what I said. Because they're having problems solving the case, that makes it even more valuable. The more this drags on, and the more ambiguous everything starts to seem, and the more the families get on TV and express their displeasure, the more they're going to get out of it. I said the same thing, because the cameras could have been in the house all along. I'm surprised they're not saying that Brian wired up the house. They try to say he wired up somebody else's house. Not enough people bought it, so they just threw that to the side about him putting in a security system for some lady and then going back in there moving stuff around. I mean, that's just really, this guy had a life. This guy had a life. And just like that priest retired, doing all the garbage he did, anybody doing stuff like that, they don't want anybody to know. And if you know you've been in somebody's apartment installing something, you're not going to touch anything because they know you've been in there. Who else been in there but you if she didn't have any visitors? Nobody's that stupid. I just feel like, they were getting ready to go down the road to tell us that Brian wired up 1122 King Road with cameras. And he's got, and he's remotely got, maybe this was going on remotely that he was filming. That was going to be what they tell us next. Okay, Alistair, we're still waiting on you to explain your comment. Leslie Vasquez, Annie, the neighbor, said she is an old lady, but she listens and pays attention, and she knows what happened. I didn't read all of it yet because I want to be here. All right, thank you. Thank you, Leslie. The neighbors probably do know exactly what happened. I believe they do. But who's going to get involved with a quadruple murder and have a mark on your back for the rest of your life? Well, don't even make it to the rest of your life. You have to solve your own crime. Here. Yeah, I know what you meant. Me to Enon is suspect. Joaquina, yeah. I feel like Enon and Brian Kohlberger might have known each other. People keep trying to put him with Bethany. If I had to put him with anybody over there, it would be Enon, because my suspicion is that that's what he was doing in Moscow in the first place, getting him some uppers. And it's very possible he got him from Enon. Enon was out and about at 2 o'clock. He was out and about. Yeah, he has a lot to say, ex parte. Shout out to Sateras. Yeah, you're right. Yep. I have to agree. I believe that if Brian knew anybody out of this whole group of people, I don't believe he knew any of those frats fraternity kids. I mean, they might have seen him around, but I don't think he knew them. I think if he knew somebody, it would be Enid Harsh. They about the same age. I think Enid might be 2 years older than Brian. And so that makes sense that they would know each other because they're the same age. They're more around the same age. I don't see Brian hanging around 20 and 21-year-olds. I just don't. You know? I just don't. He probably go out with, and I don't believe he was hurt for a date. I believe once these girls back in Pennsylvania, for one, heard he was going to WSU, PhD student with teacher's assistant. Don't you know all the girls in Pennsylvania that knew him was on him? They probably was on him at that wedding. He was looking good. He was looking good at that wedding. And he wasn't looking too bad when he got to WSU. So those girls are like, Brian going somewhere. You know, the same ones that knew he was getting high, they probably said, Brian going somewhere in life. I mean, he's already somewhere in life if he made the PhD. He already made it somewhere in life. All right, we got a lot of good comments here. Audrey Cakes, I think the defense would want this to go to trial and the prosecution wants to get this dismissed. It sounds contrary, but if this is a framing of Brian, then they have zero evidence. Shout out to One Made Nut. Matter of fact, let me give you a brain for that. Because you said some good things here. You know, now that the school is back in, they got whoever they're going to get as far as students returning to school. Whoever going to come back to school is there. So it's no reason to be worried about Brian too much anymore. Because they, you know, they got somebody in custody. That's the best they could do to clean up the mess. And whoever was going to return to Idaho for school, to Moscow, they've done it. And whoever's not coming back, they're not coming back. All right? And so and this trial is costing them money, and it's causing a stain on the school, so to speak. You know? Until Brian is either convicted or set free or there's some kind of closure, this is a stain on the university. So they don't want this in the news another year. So I think you're right in that point, One Made Nut. I can see that too. You have a slight echo in the mic, baby girl. Okay, thank you, Judgy. Thank you, Juggy. Hold on, let me see. What about now? Is that a little better? I don't think I can turn it down any more than that. Thank you, Juggy. Let me give you a shout out for that. All right? Yeah, I feel you. But the school does not have a reason to be interested in this case anymore as far as putting somebody in prison because, you know, they already got over, all the kids came back to school this month. So now that the August deadline has passed for kids come back to school and they see who's coming back and who's not, you know, they had people to lose. They had people to lose. Shout out to Cindy Abbott. Hey, Cindy. Happy Thursday Night Live. Shout out to Apocalypse. All right, we got it going on here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, how many of y'all feel like there's no evidence at all? Is there any evidence that you feel is solid evidence? Anybody? If you think there's any solid evidence in this case, put it in the chat. Be honest. We are friends here. If you feel the prosecution has any piece of solid evidence that can be used against Brian Kohlberger, put it in the chat. I see you, Apocalypse. I see you, Cindy. I see you. Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah, the kid in the middle, Banfield, they're not red from blood, but Could have been audience or actors or guards. Oh, Leah Story. Oh, shout out to Leah. Good to see you. Happy Thursday Night Live. What? BLA in the house. What? What's up, Blah? Give you a white heart. The universe, Ella's there. The university does not want it out that the kids have control of the university. Bad for business, in my opinion. Okay, Alice, there, I'm going to give you a brain for that. Because when you think about it, the kids do control, you know, the money, the inflow of cash. I understand we got alumni. I understand we have rich parents, some of them. But not all of them. And the bottom line is, a lot of those kids, all the kids on financial aid, they're getting their money from the government. And so they do make a big difference, you know, and these schools get a certain amount of grants based on how many kids. That's any school. When I was teaching school, the high school, they would lose money if kids didn't come to class. When you had too many kids dipping school, dropping out during the school year, you know, and the count went down, what? Let me tell you. They lose money when that happens. Right? Audrey case. LOL. I love that, Leslie. I felt the same. I have to think AT would tell him that she sees supporters out there. What y'all mean by she sees supporters out there? What's she telling? She gonna tell Koberger that? Shout out to Audrey case. Well, she better see a lot more than supporters out there. Because this is not a game. That's his life at stake. And they just, you know, the time that the defense is taking, prosecution's got time too. To go find somebody else to get on the stand and lie. Or to tell us Brian Koberger wired up the house. That's what'll be next. Or that pond that they're draining. They'll tell us that they found a murder weapon in that pond. They'll tell us that next. They're going to come up with something. They got plenty of time to do it. You know, they drained the pond. They claim it was for environmental reasons. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I haven't heard anything else about it. Let me see if I can find that. And get rid of this priest because he is really just beyond disgusting. And then there's also the possibility that that dog was not in the house. What's his name? Murphy. It's possible that he wasn't even in the house. You know, we do have a dog on the police log that was barking all day, like 2 miles from the house. We have that. So Murphy, he might have been out and about. But even if he wasn't, the fact that he was locked away nice and neat in a room, to me, also supports a snuff film. Right? Does anybody have any evidence, solid evidence against Brian Koberger? Can you think of anything legit that could be held against him? The only evidence I feel that the police have against Brian is his alibi, that he said he was just riding around and he can't show where he was. That's the only problem that I see that he has, which can be helped if that's what he was doing. But I'm just saying, not to be able to look at the jury and say, well, I was over here and these people saw me, or I got a receipt for this restaurant or gas station. If he can't come up with that, it's that's gonna make it hard for him. If I was a juror, I would want to know where he was. And that's just the bottom line. Shout out to Missy Q. Welcome. Welcome to our Thursday night live. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, crushing on Brian isn't something that affects me. I simply don't see any motivation for him to commit his crime. Wakinian. Shout out to Wakinian. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Is there any evidence? Is there anything besides this DNA claim? Because as far as I'm concerned, if they're not gonna put it in the trial, I don't want to hear about it. Because it's gonna affect how I think about this man, and you're not even using it. You can't just tell me this and then walk away and I keep that in my mind, but you didn't prove it. Brian went to that pool party and got a girl's number. He isn't an incel and he isn't creepy. Well, let me give Leslie a brain, because I said from the beginning, I got the videos to prove it. He can get a date. The first day he stepped over into that campus, he could get a date. And he could have turned back to most of his friends back there in Pennsylvania and get a date. Because he had a lot going for him. And he's clean cut, looking and stuff. I mean, and he's available. He's not married. So he's fair game. And all these girls acting like he's creepy. Their guy is just as creepy. Just because this man tucks in his shirt still doesn't make him creepy. Just because he don't have the tattoo on his neck. And I'm not shooting that down. I'm just saying, because he is still a little old-fashioned, you can tell his parents took time to raise him. Just because he get up in the morning and tucks in his shirt, and gets a haircut, that doesn't make him creepy at all. Or an incel. That's all garbage. Now, I want to talk about Hunter Johnson. I want to talk about Hunter Johnson and the fact that Hunter Johnson was in that house so much. He was there just as much as Ethan, but Hunter Johnson is not deceased. And thank God for that. I'm not wishing death on nobody, but I'm just saying he was there all the time, and I just find it hard to believe that he knows nothing. He's absolutely oblivious to what happened there and who might be involved. He was there every day. He was there every day. He was there when the police were there. No fan of BK. He creeps me out, but he seems framed by Idaho. Missy Q. All right, Missy. He might seem creepy to some people, but to me, it seems to me he has some kind of psychosocial disorder or disability. But other than that, there's nothing wrong with him, except he's a trouble magnet. He gets pulled over all the time, and now he's on trial for a quadruple murder. So he's one of those magnets for trouble. If it's not this, it's that. That type of person. A magnet for trouble. Every time you look around, it's some kind of trouble. Cindy Abbott, as is, I would find BK not guilty. So would I. Shout out to Cindy. Not so much that the defense has proven their case, but because the prosecution has not. And I can't send somebody to death row knowing I can't even pull the trigger for firing squad. I can't give the shot or pull the lever for the electric chair. I couldn't be the one to do it. So it's no use for me voting for death penalty. I couldn't be the one to do it. That's not to say people don't deserve it. I couldn't do it. So rather than vote for something I know I couldn't do and be the hypocrite, no, I'll just I'll just say I won't vote for it because I know I couldn't be the one to do it. That's my philosophy on the death penalty. He was Ethan's best pal. Shout out to Brian Hoffman. Hi, Brian. They were best friends. And for that reason, we know Ethan was over there all the time. We know Hunter was there all the time. We know there's a lot of people over there all the time. And so I don't understand. Hunter has to know more than anybody else. Hunter, Bethany, and Dylan, they have to know better than the police. And Hunter was the one that made the 911 call, as far as I know. I mean, come on. Not only is he over there all the time, he just happened to be the one to make the 911 call. He's the spokesman for the crowd. What kind of foolishness is that? Brian Murphy, Carfax, has thousands of miles since Washington moved. He drives around at night. Annie Ruler. Okay, shout out to Annie. I think she's saying some records of his mileage show that he drives a lot at night. Carfax. All right, let me write that down. I didn't have that information. Thank you, Annie. I didn't have that information. I could have just looked myself. Wow. So that's gonna help his alibi. If he can show him driving around. Carfax tells what time of day you drive. Wow. How invasive is that? How invasive. Now, I'm just saying, I don't think BK is ugly the way they talk about him. Okay, Leslie, shut up. No, he's not an ugly guy. And in some of those pictures, he looks downright dapper to me. I mean, I don't want him, but to me, somebody that's in his age range, that's single, before all this jumped off, I don't see how they could go wrong. He seemed like he'll go with whoever will go with him. Whoever's pleased to be in his company, he's pleased to be in theirs. Shout out to Tetra 5578. Hey, Tetra. We got a good crowd tonight. I'm watching an hour behind, but just want to say I'm hoping there's a special place in hell for people who hurt children. Children are a gift from God. How dare they? You sure right, Tetra. I feel the same way. I don't have any sympathy for anybody that mistreats children, abuse and violence and all. That's just ridiculous. Cowards do that. All right? Caddy Sonny. Hunter never mentioned Kaylee or Maddie in the memorial. Strange. Shout out to Caddy. Or Katie. I'm not sure how you want me to pronounce it. Welcome. Welcome to the Thursday Night Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. He never mentioned Kaylee or Maddie's name. And Jack D was looking like the cat that ate the canary. I noticed both of them. Brian knows how to rock the hair gel. Women love gel. That's right, Blah. Yeah, he keep that gel going. And some of them that's calling them creepy, they know they like it. So stop acting like it. I mean, stop acting like this guy is so much of a bomb. He ain't no bomb. He can get a date. I know plenty of women that'll give him their phone number right now, even locked up, figuring he gonna get out. I'll bet they gave Hunter the door code. I'm gonna give you a brain for that. You know they did, Sateris. You know they did. You know they did. This guy was there religiously. Like they were selling something. You could tell they were selling it. Because he would sit at the door with Kaylee and you could just see it. You could just see it. And he was, Jack D looked like he just was, I mean, the look on his face, it just something wasn't right about it. Sneaky. He looked real sneaky. It's suspicious Hunter wasn't there. I wouldn't have been there either. As much as I was at that house, while they were having a memorial, I'd be wiping my fingerprints off the TV remote. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be in there wiping down the kitchen, the handle on the refrigerator. I'd be at a memorial, all right. I'd be looking around in the grass to make sure I didn't drop something out of my pocket over there. I'd be over there wiping my fingerprints off that sliding glass door and off that stool they used to block it in the back. That's what I would be doing. I don't blame Hunter. I wouldn't be there either. And then he probably didn't want to see the parents either, because he know how much he been up in that house. That's just what it is. I still want the t-shirts. We're running a little behind. Yeah, but hey, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Things been moving in a real nice, positive, steady direction. It might not be jumping off as fast as other people think it might should, but the channel is doing fine. And when we get a little bit more extra time, when I do anyway, we're going to get to these things. We're going to get to it. Now, let's see. That Carfax, that's a good tip right there. All right. Shout out to B. Franklin. What's going on? B. Franklin rolling back up. All right. Welcome. Let me find some hearts. I don't have my side heart for some reason, but I have these. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Shout out to Dorca Mercado. All right, Dorca. Dorca in the house. Happy Thursday Night Live. All right. Good to see you. Tammy C. Shout out to Tammy. Shout out to Tammy C. Just because. Shout out to Chief. Wow. Where are these people coming from? Happy Thursday Night Live, Chief. Good to see you. Let's see what he said. And Hunter said he tried to take Ethan's post. So right there, his DNA will be on Ethan. He playing that well. I'm going to give you a brain for that, Chief. Checking his post, huh? Well, he's justifying his DNA being everywhere. If he went in the house to check on Ethan, not just on his body, but in the house also. When you think about it, they say he went in and something about Ethan was up against the door. Or the fact that Hunter went in the house, he cleared himself because, like, who said that? Let me give it to Chief. Just like Chief said, just by going in the house, it justifies his DNA being there. It justifies it being in Ethan and Xana's room. You know, he cleared himself by going in there. And then he run up and he's on the phone calling, talking to the operator, the dispatch. Come on. It's a lot of dirty birds in this game. I believe Hunter was next door at his girlfriend Emily's house the night of 12/13. All right, shout out to LA. That's possible. Wherever he was, he knew what was going on, I believe. Maybe he didn't, but maybe he did. All that stuff happened right there in the middle of a neighborhood, not out in some remote area, right on somebody's street. And people talk. People can't hold water. They can't hold water. That's right. What do you do to get a deal in a DG charge? You mean the death penalty, Brian? Shout out to Brian. you take a deal in death penalty case to escape the electric chair. They'll offer you that, if you go ahead and say you did it or plead no contest. That's how you get a plea. You willing to plead no contest or sign some paper saying that the prosecution probably does have enough to convict you, so you're gonna go ahead and take the plea. That's what it means. That's what you do. All right, Dorka. BK is distinguished looking and has a nice curly hair, and his height makes him look royal. Just saying. Shout out to Dorka. He is a handsome guy. I mean, it is what it is. Way back when they were saying this or that, calling him an incel, and Papa Roger came out. Remember? Do you notice nobody talks about Papa Roger anymore? Nobody talks about Papa Roger anymore. Why? Have we thrown out Papa Rogers being Brian? Nobody talks about Papa Rogers anymore. Why? Let me get this monster off of here. All right. Remember this guy? Yeah, let me get this demon off of here. All right. Do you think Hunter could have been Papa Rogers? Or did we say it was law enforcement for sure? All right. We got some good posts here. No, Katie Sonny, like Ethan wanted Kaylee instead, do you mean? I don't know. I think Ethan seemed a little committed to Xana, but you never know. They were sharing money, he and Kaylee, so I don't know. But it just seems like he wanted his girlfriend. Now, let's see. They trusted the wrong people. Hunter Johnson said it all at the vigil. Shout out to Missy Q. Yeah, we need to talk about the vigil. I'll probably make a video on that. What I think was going on, because they kept trying to say Brian Koberger was at the vigil. Now, here's a good question since you brought that up, Missy. Now, don't you think Brian would have been at the vigil if he didn't do it, and before they start trying to pin it on him with the white car and all that, don't you think naturally he would have gone to the vigil? Why didn't he go? Because nobody can show a picture of him at the vigil. He didn't want anything to do with it or what? I mean, he's a student. That would have been the politically correct thing to do, is to go to the vigil. So why wasn't Brian Koberger at the vigil? I would like to know what y'all think about this. I'm talking, but I'm reading these comments. What do you think about the fact that Brian Koberger was not at the vigil? Because that picture, that guy they were trying to say was him, that wasn't him. So why wouldn't he go? He's a TA. He's got to have some compassion for the students. I think he said it was sad what happened to him on the plane. Remember Brian said he thought it was sad what happened to them on the plane on the way back to Moscow? That's what they said he said. I don't think anyone needed a door code. Back door was never locked from what Xana's daddy said. Shout out to Caddy. Yeah, you right. But they kept that door shut in the front. So you know, he might have needed to have it. He might have needed to have it. Juggy Jones, Hunter for sure will hook up with Kaylee. I agree. Juggy, let me give you a brain. I agree. And I got the same vibe from when the policeman was taking a picture of his license and stuff, how tight she was with Hunter. You would think that Ethan would be at the door with her. But who was it? It was Hunter every time. It was Hunter. At the front door and the back. And Ethan was with Xana. So who was Hunter there for? All those girls there. He was stuck up under Kaylee, if you ask me. There might be another reason why Jack wouldn't answer the phone. Maybe he thought Hunter was over there. And he was like, hey, look. He could have been saying, hey, you over there with all these guys coming in and out of there. You and Hunter sit up and drink every night together, I think Jack D dumped Kaylee. I don't think Kaylee dumped Jack D. I think they broke up with each other, but I think Jack D was the one that pulled the plug. That's what I think. Leah, yep, got in way over their heads. Hunter was there like white on rice. I'm telling you. Shout out to Blah. Am I the only one? This guy, every time you see a body cam or anything about that place, he was in it. And yet nobody really talks about him like they do Jack D and Jack Showalter. I saw pictures of Jack Showalter in the house, but not like Hunter. And he looked like he got all the game in the world, to where if something did go down, he knew how to get himself, clear himself. Pure hatred, revenge, Missy Q. All right, I don't think anyone, okay, we did those already. I think Hunter, girlfriend Emily, broke up after seeing at the house so much with Kaylee on the videos, but it's unconfirmed. Shout out to Celtic Spike. Welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to Thursday Night Live. You have a good point here. Kaylee was at the house all the time, and so was Hunter. He was not hanging around there for no reason. Not that much. He didn't have to come outside when the police were there. That was none of his business, unless it was his business. I don't know about Emily. I have to research that, Celtic Spike. I'm not sure if and when they broke up. I don't have a lot of information on Emily, but I can do some research. I can definitely do some research. Guys, both Maddie's stepmom and Xana's mom made deals the month before. All right, shout out to Brian. Because we know that Cara Canoto is a piece of work. She tried to stop Ann from representing Brian. Talking about a conflict of interest. I mean, she's been arrested multiple times since this all started. And on TV, she had to admit to Ashley Banfield that she'd never been to University of Idaho since her daughter been there. She never been to that house to even know what was going on. She never visited Xana. She had to admit that. And I'm not bashing Cara, because we all have our struggles. And at least her daughter did make it to college. I'm sure she loves her kid. And that's good that she kept that mess away from the school. I think that's great that she didn't bring that foolishness to the school. Or did she? Inadvertently. Okay? Like, this is what y'all are saying. That they brought the heat. The parents brought the heat. And not just the moms. Some of those victims' daddies got records too for drugs. I think Dylan's father have that too. So it's not just Maddie and Xana's mother. It's more than those two. All right, well, let's see what we got here. LOL, like H crushing on K. Heard that early on, but cannot confirm, right? And then we already said Kaylee looked like she could be pregnant. She had a lot of weight on her. She had a lot of weight on her. Her face was big and fat. I mean, on one of those pictures, her face was so round, it was like a pie. And I just feel like she could have been pregnant. And that could have been another reason. Jack, that's a motive for Jack. That's a motive for Jack right there. Yeah, Kaylee's face was so fat, man. You can't say whether she was maybe was pregnant or just about pregnant or now let's see who these girls are. I'm gonna put it on the screen. Okay, and then we were talking about Papa Rogers. Nobody talks about Papa Rogers. He was telling us about the sheep and everything else. And I'm going to tell you something. When I first heard that Papa Rogers was talking about the knife sheep, I suspected him too. I suspected him, and I suspected it could have been Brian. Once I saw Brian and Papa Rogers, I had to weigh that over in my head. But I just, after weighing all the evidence, I came to find out that Papa Rogers was one of many people that knew about the sheep. They tried to act like nobody knew about the sheep until Papa Rogers said that. That's not true, because they were looking for the sheep. They were going to local hardware stores and stuff, asking around about a K-bar knife and a sheep. So everybody knew about the sheep, except us. Remember that? Where the deputy said, the guy at the hardware said that the police were coming in asking about the knife and the knife sheep to see if they sold that brand or that kind early on the first week. So everybody knew about the sheep. So Papa Rogers writing about the sheep was not some great big bombshell. I thought it was, because until Papa Rogers, I didn't know about the sheep. But everybody knew. Mr. G said he knew about the sheep. He just didn't know about the DNA. So everybody knew about the sheep. Once I heard Mr. G knew about it, I was like, man, everybody knows about the sheep. This guy here was just getting a jump on, trying to have the latest news. Because everybody knew about the sheep. Now let's see, where are we? B. Franklin. If the 911 call sets the tone for how and who is dispatched, police sent not M's in this case. I suspected the 911 call implied a domestic violence incident. Shout out to B. Franklin. Right? The 911 call was routed to Pullman. And I want to know why the police don't want us to hear it. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? They told us what was said on the 911 call. Somebody was unconscious. If that's all that went on, why can't we see it? Why can't we hear the 911 call? That's what I want to know. Why can't we see it? We had people on the phone, hysterical. Hunter grabs the phone, tells the dispatcher somebody's unconscious, and they send somebody over. What's so secretive about that? I'm just saying, what's so secretive about that? Why can't we just see it? Everything that got Bethany involved is off limits. Bethany was out in the crowd, which is what they're telling us. Bethany was out in the crowd. And so many people have hinted that Hunter is the one that made the call until we pretty much have to believe that. So, I mean, he was back over there. He's back over there. Can you believe he's back over there for what? For what? All right? You talk, that is what you do. Brian Hoffman, Leslie, it would be great if BK had a dash cam. Boy, he should have done more than turn off his phone to cover his butt. I know that much. Who is that? Leslie. Shout out to Leslie. All right? And so, it would be great. Chief. And Hunter said he tried to take Ethan's post. So, right there. Yeah, we read that one about Chief. LA, I believe Hunter was next door. Let me scroll down here. No, Carfax does not. That's what I wanted to know. Let me find it. Oh, I lost it. All right, and I see some people I missed. Alien Dog, welcome. Welcome, Alien Dog, to Thursday Night Live at the Hard Truth. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Let's see. Who said Miss Potts? Miss Potts, I didn't even know you in here. Shout out to Miss Potts. Now you know I wanted to see you. You wouldn't, did you? Why you put a bunch of stuff here where I can see you? Shout out to Miss Potts and Alien Dog. All right, all right. Shout out to all the people who think the judge is corrupt. Shout out to Michelle Truthis. Yeah, the judge, I think he has limited power, shall I say. He kind of got to do what the bigwigs tell him to do, you know, bureaucracy. That's what we call it. All right, Apocalypse say he's heading out. Shout out to Apocalypse. Thank you so much for coming out. So good to see you. Always great conversation. All right. Apocalypse and Kaylee wasn't pregnant, but their sister was. Okay, somebody was pregnant, the sister. Well, why couldn't both of them be pregnant? Who is that? Alien Dog? Okay. I'll give you another shout out. Yep, both of them, and maybe not at the same time, or maybe Kaylee was pregnant and she had to do something about it. You sleepy, Apocalypse? Must be all good night. Hey, what time is it? Hey, it's 11 o'clock. We still got 56 minutes. You gotta stretch that eye open, Apocalypse. You don't have to go to sleep right now. Alice there is in Scotland, and it's about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning over there. You know, it's got to be 3 a.m. or 3:30 a.m. in Scotland, because it was 1 something when he logged on. So you gonna have to stick it out, Apocalypse. No, we don't want you to go. Now listen, Miss Potts, maybe it's time for us to review that voice comparison again, because it's been so long since we've all seen it. Shout out to One Made Nut. What comparison? What comparison? What comparison you talking about? All right, let's see. Olivia was pregnant. Annie Ruler. Oh boy. All right, shout out to Annie. Olivia was pregnant. The sister, yeah. I think they named it after Kaylee, the baby. Did they name the baby? They named the baby after Kaylee. Either the first or the middle name or something like Kaylee. I forget. I think I saw the little baby. It looks like Kaylee. That is why they are holding it back. Apparently, Sleuthie says cop actually did the 911 call. What? Ooh, that's some good dirt right there, Brian. Shout out to Brian. Say what? Well, they did all the rest of the calls, didn't they? They did all the rest of the calls. They called. It was a self-call in the Banfield. It was a self-call when they went over there getting Kaylee's license. Maybe it was a self-call. That's a mind blower there. Now, how does Sleuthie know? I'm going to have to ask Sleuthie. I'm going to go over there and ask Sleuthie in her next live how she know that. Let me write myself a note so I can ask Sleuthie. She used to pop up over here. I would love to visit other influencers more, but my hands are full, you know. Some of them, they have help with their technology and stuff. I'm not on that level yet. Everything, you know, it's a one woman band, or however you say it, one woman show. By the time I shuffle everything around, I barely got time to show up to my own stuff, and I only have one public live like this. So, I mean, I'm going to have to make the time to go over there to Sleuthie and see what's going on with that, because I want to know. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I know it's something. Why we can't hear it? Was that J for Justice? Was it any Sleuthie? It's probably Sleuthie, I would guess. I'm gonna ask Sleuthie. And maybe she heard. If she didn't say it, maybe she heard. Because she has a lot of information. Alright, shout out to Sleuthie Goosey. I need to go over there. I need to go over there to her channel and try to compare some notes or something or what. Ask her, but I gotta ask her about this. Alright, Cindy, that was crazy too. Unconscious epitome of understatement. That sounds like something the police would do, saying somebody unconscious when it's more than that. That certainly sounds, because the police would know it's going to Whitcomb. And they wouldn't want Pullman to know Jack until they could get a handle on everything. All right. Release the 911 call, MPD, Pullman PD, all of it. I know that's right. Shout out. I concur, Juggy. That's a solid piece of evidence, and we are not allowed to hear it. I just don't understand that. That was before the gag order. That was before the gag order that they wouldn't let us have it. I'm mad about that. All right? That was crazy, too. Release the 911. Leslie Vasquez. Y'all don't be talking about Kaylee being fat. She was thick. Kaylee was beautiful. Now, don't get me wrong. That girl had a beautiful face, a beautiful smile. She had a positive vibe. I know a lot of guys were probably hitting on her and stuff. That's what they were saying. Maybe she had a stalker. Kaylee had it going on. Kaylee had money. She went and got her a truck. You know, she was planning. She had a job lined up. She was graduating early. She seemed very friendly. I mean, just like her daddy said, Mr. G said she didn't have a mean bone in her body. That's what Mr. G said. And he looked like he was about to break down and cry after he said that. I almost turned it off. I was so sad for him. That man was tore up on that interview. I don't see how he made it to the end. Mr. G said she didn't have a mean bone in her body, so, and I believe him. But you know, you can piss somebody off when it comes to drugs. Somebody pissed somebody off. If it wasn't just the motive of a snuff film, I mean, for somebody to come in and do that kind of damage, somebody got pissed off. They pissed somebody off. So, let me see. Papa Roger deleted his account 1 to 2 after BK was already in jail. True. Shout out to Terry. It's people that said that they tried to find the account, tried to break into the account, and then it disappeared, blah blah blah. But how could this man take his social media down? Somebody said that maybe he told one of his family members to take it down because it looked just like him and he didn't want it up. Which is possible now. It's possible he got one of his sisters to take it down. So we can't really jump on that too much. But it's unlikely that he would be on the phone in jail talking about delete anything. How could he even, his family didn't come to Moscow for months. So it's hard to believe he would be on the jailhouse phone talking about delete Papa Roger. I mean, they might as well heat up the electric chair if he did that. They might as well go on and plug it in and heat it up. If they got him on a jailhouse call telling somebody in his house to delete the Papa Rogers account. So whoever said he told his family, I don't believe that. Okay, who I ought to shout out for that? Terry. Imagine Brian Kohlberger calls being recorded at the jail, and he on the phone telling his family to delete his Papa Rogers account, or go do this or go do that. It'd be game over for that dude if he was doing that. And where did they move Brian Kohlberger? That's something we didn't talk about. Let me see what I can find. Where's Brian Kohlberger right now? I'm hearing he's not at the jail, Latah County Jail anymore. Huh? And who are these girls right here? Y'all recognize anybody? You recognize anybody? Well, I'm supposed to be looking for, what am I supposed to be looking for? I forgot just that quick. Let me look back in the chat. All right. I said leave us alone. Call the fire department. They're embarrassed for not taking the call seriously. Maybe 911 said leave us alone. Call the fire department. They're embarrassed for not taking the call seriously. Okay, that's BLA. That's something to think about. But if somebody's unconscious, the police need to get there. And I think they might have thought that somebody was just passed out from alcohol. I'm sure they get those kind of calls all the time. When somebody drank too much, especially the fraternity. Now, I'm going to tell you, I didn't think that the frat was responsible at first. I didn't think a frat was involved. I thought they were just blaming these guys because they're always involved in some mess. But after further research, I discovered that like 3 out of 5 violent or sexual assaults on campus, a frat member had something to do with it. I read that as an actual statistic. And another reason I didn't think the frat was involved is because they were the Sigma Chi so close to the house. Why would you do that so close to where you got to go cross the grass and continue on in school, or whoever did it? I just didn't think so. But now I think that there are some within their ranks that will be capable of something like this. Especially after seeing that there was one university student among the 500 over there in Italy that got caught with all kinds of materials, pornographic and violent, snuff film, the works. One of them was a university student. So you can't tell me that now that the frat was not involved or couldn't have been involved. Put it that way, couldn't have been involved. You can't tell me that. Because if a university student is interested in snuff films over here, surely and we got a priest over here right in Idaho doing it. We got somebody at Moscow University that could be interested in that. You know, they watch anime and they watch all of these violent fantasy video games and stuff. And so ain't no telling what comes to mind. It could be from video games. Killing all day. And then turn around and decide you want to try it for real. Brian Hoffman, wow, I've often wondered that thought, but thought it sounded ridiculous to even consider it. Regardless, we will never hear it, and Ann Taylor won't either. All right, shout out to One Made Nut. Ann Taylor got her work cut out for her. Time-wise, as far as getting the materials together, as far as fighting the rumors. I mean, she should be getting $300 a month for putting up with this. For putting up with that grand indictment, the grand jury indictment, for putting up with, you know, snatching the preliminary hearing down and all kinds of stuff. You know, I tell them, give me $300 a month or I'm walking. This is a mess, and it's going to be a mess for a while. All right, I thought PG too until today. Older pics, just thicker, maybe birth control, or maybe already took care of the problem. You can go to a clinic, if you know what I mean, and for maybe a couple of weeks afterward, you still look pregnant. If you go to a clinic, you still got a little extra weight on you for a minute. That doesn't just disappear because you went to the clinic. Tara, interesting. I must have missed something. Oh, I think it was Terry. All right. Let's see. We did Michelle shout out. Enan the knife thrower. Yeah. Alien dog bringing up the knife. Remember they said Brian didn't do good cutting the fish on the job, but we saw videos of Enan Harsh cutting just fine with a knife, and he took those down, I believe. All right. Who found the car twice on the same day? WSU cops. I thought that was ridiculous. Shout out to Brian. I thought that was ridiculous because you're not just walking around, you know, in that guy's apartment complex running into a car. Shadow Fallon. All right. Shout out to Shadow Fallon. Welcome. Welcome to our Thursday Night Live. Thank you for coming. Now let's see what Shadow said. What show? How much money? Other what? Oh, I think you're in a conversation with somebody in here. All right. 2 days ago, I decided, what kind of newspaper accounts are there regarding WSU? It's a lot of them. It's a lot of them. The sergeant resigned like a week before these things happened for predatory behavior, having sex on campus in one of the executive suites and stuff. It's so much on WSU, and then we had deaths over there too. Remember, we had deaths over there after the Idaho 4. So WSU is not guiltless. And then, according to the own Moscow Police Department annual reports, they had informants in Moscow. The drug dealers in Washington, and they got informants in Moscow. That's in the annual police report. It's a lot going on at WSU. And Enan took that knife down, alien dog. You see, he took that video down, and he was telling the truth and transparency. Well, people are saying, oh, he loves knives, and so he must have done it. Well, we didn't know he loved knives until he said that. We knew he worked with knives. We didn't know he loved knives. He said that out of his own mouth. It's just ridiculous. And then he said, He put it on Brian Koberger. Well, they got so much on this guy, it doesn't matter. Remember he said that? They got so much on him, DNA and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, come to think of it, I saw a white Elantra. Remember he said that? Child, please. But you got the guy in custody that couldn't even cut the fish. And doesn't Opie have a meat truck where you have to cut the meat? We know he's a hunter. But doesn't he have a meat truck? One of these policemen could have went over there and got rejected. And all of this jumped off from that. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Okay, let me see if I can find that for y'all. Please do. Thank you, Brian. Michelle Truthis. The law enforcement will show that snuff film for $100,000 a pop. You know it. Shout out to Michelle. They're talking about 5 and 6,000. It's more than that. This is 2023. You gotta pay. It's people with Bitcoin money. You know, you gotta have some money. Man, somebody, the guys that own the house could have hosted it. It's their house. And they don't have the greatest record either. I think the owner of the house has some porn in his history. And then I'm going to tell you the creepiest thing about this whole case is that the president of the University of Idaho used to live in that house. That's insane. So was he a part of the frat? What fraternity was he? Shout out to Fallon. We got two Fallons. We got Shadow Fallon, and then we got Fallon. Shout out to Fallon. Welcome. All right, Fallon said about the 911 call, someone have suggested they are not releasing the call because it would implicate someone else. I'm wondering if there was even a 911 call. Just like DNA autopsy, maybe no 911 or destroyed. Fallon, I'm going to give you a brain for that. Maybe they're not showing us. Now that makes sense to me. Maybe they're not showing us the 911 call because there was no 911 call. We didn't talk about that yet. Maybe there wasn't one. Everybody's showing up to the house and the police showing up. You know, they could have called the police on the cell phone. For all we know, there might not even be a 911 call. Talking about an unconscious person. Might not have been Fallon. That's a great point. I love you all. Great chat as usual. Thank you, Hard Truth, and all my friends. See you next week. All right, Leslie. Thank you so much. You always come in and you always have my back. Much love to you. I wish I could send you a whole bunch. I'm going to just type it like this. Because I don't have the little hearts that I can send up for some reason. And I'm scared to refresh my screen. God, no, I'm not going to do that. But night-night, Leslie. Thank you very much. All right. Missy Q. Even though Kaylee lost their life over your jealousy and all, her roommates, you lost it all. All right. Shout out to Missy. They know something, don't they? Talking about a tattoo. I mean, you supposed to be broke up over your roommates for a long time. You supposed to be broke up over them, you know, for a month. Your hair's supposed to be summer everywhere. It's supposed to be summer everywhere. Man, if my friends died like that, you know, maybe I would, you know, I'm not a tattoo type person, but if I was to get a tattoo, it would take me a while to come to that. I would be a wreck. I wouldn't have been able to make it to a memorial or anything else. I wouldn't have been able to do anything. I would have been useless for about 2 weeks of vegetable. And then I would have been angry that nobody knew who did it. I would just be infuriated. I just know that's how I would be. Katie Sonny. When Payne killed a wolf 13 years ago, he said he should make a coat, wear it to U of I, and freak out the hippies. It's on his YouTube channel. Okay, shout out to Katie. I did a video on him and that wolf hunting and how he felt an adrenaline after he killed it. That's what he said. And everybody was like, "You're disrespecting the police. They're just trying to do their job. And Brian Kohlberger did it. Just accept it." And blah, blah, blah. Man, you got to prove people are innocent until proven guilty, man. We got to keep that on the table. Or we'll be just like these countries that we're talking trash about, that they're too controlling and, they don't give a fair trial and always talking about somebody else's country. Well, what about us? Innocent until proven guilty. You can't just convict somebody over some flimsy circumstantial evidence. You got to come clean. You got to come clean. Yes, and how many minutes from Canada? Haul meat to Canada. Oh, he's hauling the meat to Canada. All right, shout out Annie. Yeah, he got a meat truck. That's right. He's got a meat truck. But we all focused on Brian Kohlberger cutting fish. They want to let Opie say a word. Do you think Brent and Brian knew each other? I think it's a strong possibility that they did, Brian. A strong possibility. Because based on research I did, and also Dr. Thrifty, when Dr. Thrifty was making a lot of videos, posting them, he showed where they live in close vicinity in Pennsylvania. And then they ended up in the same city, almost a mile apart in Pullman. That's a big coincidence. And then the guy gets swatted. Then when they pull him and his dad over, the first thing that came out of his dad's mouth was about Kopaka. Like the dad knew him. I'm just saying. I really think that's too much of a coincidence that both of these guys lived in Pennsylvania in very close proximity. And then ended up across the country, all the way across the country, a mile apart. I mean, how is that? Now, I don't know about him going to Brent's apartment on that night. Okay? All I know is, on the PCA, they cannot prove where Brian went once he went towards 270. They can't prove he got on 270. And we don't know if he went to Kopaka's apartment. He went towards it. I'll give you that. And that's if the pings are right. We're speaking as if these cell phone pings are written in stone, and they're not. But if Brian Kohlberger took the route that they say he took in Pullman, it says he went towards 270. There's no evidence he got on 270. None whatsoever. And so the coffee house apartments are right there when you get on 270. So he could have been getting on 270 and never went to Brent's apartment. He could have went to Brent's apartment and never got on 270. He was just over to Brent's. Or he could have went to Brent's and then got on 270. All of it is possible because we don't know what he did. All we know is he went towards 270. That's all we know. That's all we know. We can't speculate past that without evidence. But I believe if I had to say whether or not Brian and Kopaka knew each other, if I had to bet on it, I would say they did know each other. If just from what I can see and what I've read, I would say they did know each other. How do you end up in close vicinity with somebody in one city and then even closer together all the way across the country? And remember, you know, it seemed like everything jumped off after Kopaka died. Everything. You know, maybe Kopaka knew about the snuff film or whatever was supposed to go down. Maybe he and Brian both knew. And maybe the only reason, well, I can't say that because he's in jail. I was getting ready to say maybe he snitched. But maybe he snitched and they still locked him up and said, well, maybe you did it. Maybe you did it, huh? BK could have been trying to set Brent up. True. It's true, too. It's possible. Who is that? Shadow? Shout out to Shadow. It's possible. Brian could have known something just from his job, just from hanging out around other students. He could have known something and told something, or he did something to get himself in this mess. And people don't want to accept that. I don't believe he killed those kids. I hope, like the deacons, that he didn't. But I don't believe he did. But I just, you know, he knew something. He had to know something. Or they think he knows something. And so why would they even think he knows something? Why would they even think he knows something? It's not making sense. It's not making sense. All right. Let's see if there's anything else. Because I had a couple of notes here that seem to have disappeared on my desktop. But that's all right. We're going to keep going. I believe they did know each other. And it's possible that Brian told on Kopaka. He could have been the one that called FBI. I mean, Kopaka could have been on some drugs and just lost his mind in an apartment and nobody swatted him. He just was out of control. Or it could be somebody called and said he's a problem. And, you know, he wasn't even all that excited, you know, that much of a threat. And they just killed him. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know on that one. But I do believe he knew Brian. It's a possibility he knew Brian. But I was thinking we would have some evidence of them together. Some picture of them together. I would like to see some type of connection on top of what's already there. All right. Andy Ruler, I think that driver was a different guy and said his wife works at the Mad Greek or something, and he works in a restaurant behind the Mad Geek. But he also does DoorDash, but not EG, a different guy. All right, the driver that picked up the girls, are you saying the people at the grub truck, right, Katie? Let me give you a shout out. Are you talking about the guy that supposedly picked the girls up from the grub truck? 'Cause we don't have that on cam either. We got to take his word for it. He was the last person to see him alive by his own admission. And so we got to take his word for it that he just dropped them off and went on to Taco Bell or wherever he went. I just don't see it. It's a lot of these guys, they're supposed to be suspects. And they're not. They never were. Miss Potts, Annie, he never worked at the Mad Greek. Not with the girls. Anyway, Kaylee never worked at Mad Greek. Yeah, I know that true. That's true. Shout out to Miss Potts. All right. Who else we got? But it's all about vitamins, Maddie's stepmom, Cara. Well, where's Cara right now? Let's see. See if it's any recent news. February, March. February, March, January. I don't see any new news on her. Only thing I have on Cara is the Daily Mail, and I'll post that for you. Nobody recognized the girls in the picture. All right, give me just 1 second. This is Cara Kanoto speaking, and this article is from the Daily Mail. One sec. Here's part of it. She's been rather quiet, as she should be. What do y'all think about Mrs. G going on an influencer site, Drunk Turkey, under the gag order? What do you think about that? All right, the Daily Mail. It's the worst place to be when you're going through something like this. Mom of Idaho victim Xana Kanoto is languishing in jail on drug charges and suffering from withdrawal after daughter's brutal murder triggered her relapse. She's 43 years old. She told Daily Mail, I relapsed after my daughter's killing. Then 4 days after that, I got picked up on new charges. Her time behind bars has forced her to go through a nightmare withdrawal. Well, big things come in small packages. Sometimes that's the best thing in the world that could have happened, for you to have to go through withdrawal. Not your daughter's death, but for you to go through that nightmare withdrawal, to go ahead and face it. That was a good thing. The mother of University of Idaho mass murder victim Xana Kanoto is locked up in jail on drug charges, having spiraled into a relapse following her daughter's killing in November. Cara Northington is now struggling to stay sober with no contact from her two surviving children, Daily Mail can reveal. It's the latest in a series of tragic events for the troubled 43-year-old who is being held at Kootenai County Jail in Coeur d'Alene, 66 miles from where 20-year-old Xana, her boyfriend, and two housemates were slaughtered. She has been in custody on drug charges since February 24th after spending 3 weeks locked up 30 miles west in Spokane, Washington, where she had been staying in a ratty motel strung out on fentanyl and methamphetamine. Okay, well, this might be a connection to Emma Bailey and Demetrius. Cara Kanoto, because she was in Spokane, 30 miles west in Spokane, and no, I think they were in Seattle, but they definitely were dealing in Washington. Emma Bailey and Demetrius were dealing in Washington. They got arrested in Washington. And so this might be a connection to Cara Kanoto. What do you say about that? All right, let's see. The Dangerous Trilogy is in the recess, fire starting, and most importantly, killing animals so that individuals killing animals. Very possibly he graduated to harming humans. All right. When you say he, who do you mean? Brian Koberger? Shout out to Cindy. Yeah, we were talking about Buddy and how Buddy got skinned, and they saying it's not related. Everything that makes sense is not related. As gruesome as this crime was, mutilating an animal makes perfect sense, but we're being told it's not related. It's just, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Right? I want to thank y'all, first of all, for liking the live. Thank you for not forgetting to like the live, because we got 50 likes here, and we pretty much had between 50 and 70 people throughout the live. So that's pretty much right. But if you haven't liked the video, please do so, because we only have about 20 minutes left. All right. One made nut. Hard truth, the fact that Christy going to the DTS show instead of TNT tells me something. Am I alone in thinking this? Does anyone know what I'm saying? Do you think the same as me? Let me think about that for a minute. One made nut. All right. Well, I personally, first of all, I don't feel like she should have been on any show. And there's a gag order, and we had been told that they would be testifying in the trial. Remember that? We got it was in the news that they expected the G's to testify in the trial. So if that's the case, you shouldn't be talking to anybody. But I guess they got to relieve some pressure some kind of way. I was just surprised by that. I was surprised that Mr. G let her talk to any influencer. But hey, he's doing it. So I guess it's all or nothing. Everybody or nobody. All right? If Brian was totally innocent, he would want the cameras in the courtroom. Well, I'll get back to you, One Made Nut. I'm still thinking about that. Shout out to Michelle Truthis. Well, let me think about that. I think a narcissist would want cameras in the courtroom, because he would be feeding off all of this attention, and for him to want privacy, you know, I think I would want privacy. Look how the public has done him already. Look how the public has already done him. So why would he want more of that? Why? Why would you want the public in your proceedings, and they've already slaughtered you like a pig, and continue to do so? They just slowed down with it a little bit. They take the worst shots and put them on the news to skewer him. No cameras. All right? Tammy C. They got him looking like Ted Bundy on the internet. He does look like Ted Bundy now. Tell the truth. Brian Koberger does look like Ted Bundy. He most certainly does. He looks like Papa Rogers and Ted Bundy. But that doesn't make him a killer. Well, Cara Canoto, I hope that she overcame or got some kind of, made some process with her addiction being locked up. I do. I really hope that she got some help. You know, I hope the time she spent in jail helped her. I really do. Because that lady's only 43 years old. I would have never said she was 43. I just found that out tonight. And that's young. That's young. She still got a lot of life to live. It's time to dry up. All right, Miss Potts, Michelle, not necessarily, especially since the media can't follow the judge's orders. Nobody is. Miss Potts, none of us are. I know I've been ignoring the gag order because I feel like everybody else is talking about this case, including family, media, people giving interviews, people calling in to influencers talking about they live on campus and here's what happened. Everybody's talking about what happened. So why should I gag myself and nobody else is gagged? And besides, I want to know who did it. I want to know right now, be honest. I want to know right now. If Brian was totally innocent, he would want, okay, we did that. They take the worst shots. All right, let's move down. I think he's fighting for no cameras, Brian. If I'm not mistaken, Koberger is fighting for, I think they just asked for that again, for no cameras in the courtroom. Now back to One Made Nut. Christy going to DTS instead of Truth and Transparency. Well, we are influencers. You know, none of us have a detective's license that I know of. I mean, there are detectives that have their own show, but they're speculating too. You know, some of them have started condemning Brian months ago. I can think of 2 or 3 just off of my head that are retired detectives, and they're condemning Brian Koberger. One of them called, it had an inmate on the phone, and the inmate said that the killers were already in the house when everybody was getting home. Remember that? So I don't think it would matter which show she went on. What does it tell you? Tell us. Maybe you get a brain for that, because I don't know. I don't see the difference between going on one show and the other, be honest with you. It's going to be the same effect. They're just going to say, hey, look what Miss G is saying. I don't see a difference between the two. Maybe I'm missing something. Fallon, E and X wounds different and different wounds than K and M by different tools. What if done by 2 different attackers at 2 different times for 2 different motives? EX for drugs or anger, KM by jilted X. All right, shout out Fallon. That's a very strong theory. Now, I have to ask you, are you saying they were in there killing in 2 different rooms for 2 different reasons, but they came there together? Is that what you're saying? Because if it's not, you know, I'm not sure if 2 killers would be in there working together. I mean, for 2 different reasons, one would have killed the other. So I'm assuming you're saying they showed up with 2 different motives, but they were together. Is that what you're saying? The fact that there were different wounds tells us that there was more than likely more than one person. Among other things that tell us that he was let go, Tammy. Shout out to Tammy. See, he was let go because he didn't know how to cut the fish. But that says a lot about him, that he was willing to try, because I don't think I could have taken that job. He was willing to try. Private driver said, I did not pull into driveway for my safety. Really, did he usually pull in cameras? All right, shout out to Eddie. That's a good point. I don't trust him at all. This guy just told so many stories. about what he knows, and he knows all the girls. He's given them rides before, so he had a chance to scope out the house and see the comings and goings and whatever. And he might even got out of his car and went in and had a drink for all we know. And so I don't trust him at all. I don't trust what he says. He says he turned Brian Kohlberger into the tip line after they had the December the 7th press conference. Now, how is it that he's the one that took him home, last one to see him, he turned somebody else in, and they're the ones that got arrested? Only in America, I tell you. Only in America. Yep. Miss Potts thinks you are so knowledgeable. She is. Miss Potts usually have 2 or 3 brains. She's usually the first one to get one. She is. Brian Hoffman Fallon, I think targets were Xana and Maddie, related to both mom connections to vitamins, right? Yeah, a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that, Brian. I mean, the drug angle is right there in our faces. It's almost like we can't discount it. Maybe the people that had a stash of drugs there for them to sell are the same ones that did the snuff film, and they shut everything down with some money. In other words, they didn't leave empty-handed. Could be. Fallon, too bad going to. Hold on, I missed that. Okay, I missed some more too. Jack S. kicked out of frats for leaving dead coyotes entrances of university buildings. Maybe not protecting girls by walking with them, but keeping tabs on them. Then message when they left grub truck. All right, Showalter left the dead animals. And which frat was Jack S. kicked out of? All right, and one maiden nut. I think so. Depending on which camp you're in, you can sue. Oh, okay. Hold on now. I think so. Depending on which camp you're in, you consume your news. If you believe in his guilt, you sub to those channels. If you're open-minded, you watch these channels. Simple. Let me give you your brain. I got you. And you are on it. You are on it. Woo, that's hot. Oh, let me give you a brain and some fire. You are on it. Because at first, I thought that the DTS, I thought they thought he could be innocent, or it wasn't enough evidence or whatever. But, I mean, after a while, it just started leaning towards they felt he did it. I know Daniel was saying a lot of stuff that it just seemed like he was convinced that he did it. It's been a while since I watched the Drunk Turkey show. But I think they started leaning towards his guilt months ago. But that's an excellent point, One Maiden Nut. Excellent point. But she's going by the same information that we have. Or I can't necessarily say that. Maybe she has inside information. Let me stop. Maybe they have inside information. And if that's the case, why was Mr. G looking at Jack D like that? If they didn't believe he did it. Because he looked at Jack D, it was terrible. If looks could kill, man, then he'd have been number 5. All of the dates of the busts are after mom's arrest. All right? I mean, I don't doubt it, Brian. I'm not doubting you. I feel like it's just too much going on as far as drugs for that not to be a part of it. But at the same time, sometimes something can be too easy. Sometimes the simplest answer is not the answer. But it's so much pointing to drug involvement until it's almost impossible to, overlook it or dismiss it at this point. I can't, for that matter. Terry Butler, where did you learn black sedan? Last week I heard Blue Mustang and had another guy with him. Wow. Where y'all getting all this from? What a Blue Mustang. Shout out to Annie. Who had a Blue Mustang? Hold on, Annie. All right. Let's see. Missy Q, you're 100% right. There is no collateral damage, in my opinion. For some reason, they were all the target. I believe they were all the target too. What made nut, and I went through the trouble to explain that in 2 videos. I believe all 4 of them were meant to be assassinated because that's what it was, and I believe that every last one of the 4 were meant to go. I do. The only one I feel like they might have missed was Bethany. She might have ran. I'm just saying. They might have been meaning to get her too. Only person that seemed to be immune to murder is Dylan. Just a weird twist about different times by different people with different motives. Probably not that at all, but just a weird idea in this circus of the absurd. Now we have to think about everything, Fallon, because unless we got some concrete answers, we don't have the room to just throw stuff out. It's a good theory. I mean, it's possible. It's possible that they look at all the DNA they found in the house. We got 3 other DNA, and those people could have all went along for different reasons. All been willing to do it for different reasons. They might have said it was for this reason, but in their hearts, one of them might have been doing it for that reason. One of them might have been doing it because they felt Maddie and Kaylee were girlfriend, and they wanted one of them. Or maybe they hate homosexuality, and they felt like that's what these girls were. Maybe they didn't like the fact that Xander and Ethan weren't married. Maybe they were from the church. Maybe one in the group was mad about one thing, about some dope money, and while the other one was mad about something romantic. I think it's very plausible. It doesn't cancel out any of the other theories for that to be true, because we already know that more than one person was up in there. We already know that. I do. I know that one person ain't going to a house with a dog by itself talking about killing at least 4 people. I know that didn't happen. I know it was more than one person. It's just a matter of who were the people. And I believe it was at least 3 people. And I think it's very possible that Hunter was there. Maybe he left, but I think he was close by. And he knew what was going down, and he was scoping it out. I think Hunter could have been one of the 4 that was running away from that house. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think he could have very well be one of the 4 that's on that body cam. We just can't see that white necklace. Right? All right, good people. It is 12 midnight, which is when the, what do you call it? Which is when the prince turned back into a frog or whatever. All right, I think we had a good discussion tonight. I really enjoyed myself. I don't know about you. I had a great time. And so I'm going to start winding it down. As I said, we don't have any new member announcements, but we do have an upgrade. AF upgraded to selective detective. So we now have 3 selective detectives, which is awesome. And let's see. I'm going to post my email for any member that doesn't have it. Start there. If you want the newsletter and you're not getting it and you're a member, it's because I don't have your email. So here it is again. I just decided to just keep giving it every time. Because somebody might not have heard me or whatever. Okay, here's the email. And then here is my Cash App and PayPal for anybody that may want to donate tonight or anytime this week. Basically, I usually post my thank you notice on Saturdays. Okay, so if you find some extra cash or some extra time to donate, that'd be great. If not, I understand. I know people are trying to pay bills. Okay, this is the PayPal and this is my Cash App. All right, and so you're welcome to contribute to either of those if you can. Okay, I don't want anybody's rent money, but if you can. All right, so we have talked about a lot of things. We didn't really get into we love you heart too. Hey, Michelle, truth is I love you too. Let me give you some hearts. I love you all too. I think we had a good discussion tonight. I usually put a subject up there, but 9 times out of 10, we end up talking all around it, and that's exactly what happened. We didn't spend too much time on the frats tonight, but I'm working on that and the snuff. I'm working on that and the snuff. Joy, you're a sweetheart with a good mind. Thank you, Tammy. Let me send you some love. Now, I'm going to leave this chat open for 10 minutes. Cash App, Zelle, US Bank, Patreon, Bitcoin. All right. I'm good. I need to get Zelle. I need to get Zelle. All my neighbors keep telling me to get Zelle. They're older. They're older people, and they keep telling me to get Zelle. So maybe I will get Zelle. I'll get to it by the weekend. I can't promise nothing in the next couple of days, but maybe I will get Zelle. I don't know if they have Zelle in the other countries or not. But I wouldn't want to move towards that unless it's an international currency. Is Zelle an international currency? All right. It's 12:04. I'm going to leave the chat open until 12:12. Yep, happy September. That's right. That's right, Sateris. Shout out to Sateris. And also, happy September. We just brought in a new month. Isn't that something? Oh. Yeah, that's what's up. It's good to be alive. God is good, I tell you. Well then, I'm glad you reminded me. All right, I'm cutting out here. And I'll see you guys in the next video chat. And you got my email. If you got any good articles or information, please email it to me ASAP. Good night. What in the world? AF done popped up in here again. That's my guardian angel. I told y'all, that's my guardian angel. AF, thank you so much. I know people are struggling and stuff, so I don't trip, but I sure appreciate it. I tell you the truth, I appreciate it. You can't just wrestle people for money. $50 super chat, AF, dang girl. I know. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I see where you upgraded to selected detective, so you the boss now. You the boss. You the boss now, AF. Thank you so much. What kind of demons you had to fight? Fighting demons. It's all good, Michelle. Thank you in advance. Thank you. And also, Michelle, think about becoming a member. You know, you guys, that haven't joined, you could become a member for $2.99. You know, everybody ain't the big baller like AF, throwing around $100 bills and stuff. I mean, everybody ain't able. But you can join as a member for $2.99 and get good benefits, get the inside scoop, and then we have a private meeting. Sometimes I preview some of the stuff. Oh my God. Still at it. I told you. Thank you, AF. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo, thank you. Woo, I'm hot and I'm rich tonight. Yes, girl, bought a truck today. What kind of truck? I need to buy one too. What kind of truck? All right, all right. Yep. What kind of truck? Y'all gonna have me up all night. AF, man, you such a blessing to me. I swear. You always have my back. I always have my back. I'm trying to send some hearts. It's buffering. I always have my back. Michelle, AF always does this. It's not a one-time deal. AF always does this. AF does this all the time. It's nothing new. A millionaire probably. What color is it? What color is the truck? A Nissan Ridgeline. I don't know. What is a Ridgeline? If you have not seen Enan with Lana, do it. I have that clip with Enan being interviewed, both of them, in my video, Enan body language. Most of the people here should have already seen it. But I love the jet black. Ridgeling. What is Ridgeling? What is Ridgeling? Jet black. Jet black get dirty too fast. Checking on us. Not virtually proved in the hearts was inside looking in. All right, good folks. I'll be shutting it down now. But you guys have a good night. And I'll see you next time. And God bless.